Hello, so today I'm going to be talking to Blake, and I'd really like to explore just sort of what it was like for him as a medic player, just sort of experiences revolving around that, maybe like the sense of identity that medic players have, sort of what leads a player to play medic, how they fit into teams, and then maybe just general sorts of community experiences. Yeah, definitely love to cover more classes. You want to talk about yourself for a little bit, Blake? Introduce yourself.
Uh, sure. Hello, I'm Blake. I've been playing Medic for uh, since 2018. A little bit before that, but yeah, I've been playing Medic and Invite for quite a while. Get Resident getting carried by some of the best players in Highlander. That's kind of about it.
Okay, so what initially got you into competitive to Team Fortress 2 in the first place? Let's start off with that.
So funny story. Was like a I was a big Counter Strike player, so I played a lot of DZ or like Death Run, KZ, B Hop maps, Surf maps. You know, sometimes played like in houses, and one of our like admins of the server was like, "Hey, you know, Blake, you have pretty good aim. You want to come like play on my Highlander team?" And I was like, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's TF2. I was like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Like, my older brother plays that. And so I went to go play. I never played, but I got on the roster, and it was like some iron team or steel team.
Uh,
And
Sassy Source Rex.
yeah, I literally did not play a single game, but I remember just being like, all right, I'm ready whenever. Not knowing what class I'll play. I think it was engineer that they wanted me, which is pretty funny that they ask about aim and then tell me to play engineer.
Hey, maybe they just wanted another scout. Sometimes you just need two.
Yeah. So then I started playing, and I've never been like one to like pub a lot. I haven't been a big fan of pubbing or like just like the just, in general, just like I haven't really found it fun unless I'm like going on to like play with some friends that I'm initially playing with. I've never found like the joy of just like going out and pubbing by myself.
Is there any particular reason for that?
I don't know what it is. Like I used to love to play sniper on like Harvest because there's like other sniper mains on Harvest. Like I think Gert was on there, Fallen Lord was on there, Barry Center used to play on there. Boar would sometimes be on there. It'd be pretty fun to like see like these high level snipers and kind of just get destroyed. But like every now and again, I'll get like one or two kills on them and feel good. So that was cool. But for the most part, I just never really enjoyed the like goofier side of TF2 per se.
I see. And is that something that like a sentiment you still carry in these days, or not so much?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the only time I pub now is if my friends from Somebody Help ask me to play some pubs, or like they're just in Discord wanting to play some pubs, or if I see Timeless, the sniper for Somebody Help, on like if he's streaming like Harvest or something. Sometimes I'll join and change my name to like Stream Sniper and like heal him, or go like P Rifle Sniper and like body shot him.
Hmm,
Like just some funny like, hey, what's up, But other than that, yeah, I've kind of held the same sentiment of not really pubbing too often.
that's fair. So, what was it like starting off back then? Newer player coming into the game, I'm brand new, I guess in that case. What was it sort of like?
I mean, it was kind of challenging to figure out like how do I get better, like in any like new sport or anything. Like it's like, yeah, I could play pubs, or I could like, how do I scrim? How do I practice? Like that was kind of nerve wracking for me because it was like I wanted to play sniper because I thought that was like, coming from CS:GO, I thought like, oh, sniper is probably my best fit. So I played, dozen seasons or so, not really a dozen, but like I played, multiple seasons of steel, multiple seasons of silver, just playing sniper with like people that I met along the way. Uh, and then uh, one season I was playing sniper on this team, Turbulent 9, and the leader of that team would always say like I'm no fun allowed, because when we do like pre-game and like warm up stuff, I'd always headshot people. So that was kind of like the first kind of group of people that I got to be around. And then I found TF2 Center. TF2 Center back in, whatever that was, I forget what time frame it was, but that had you know a lot of like uh, I'd say the competition was a lot better than it is now. I mean, I've gone back and played some TF2 Center recently, and it's pretty funny. But uh, you know, going into TF2 Center as a new player, just like seeing what was going on, playing versus like invite players on alts, not really knowing what's going on, just kind of getting dumpstered.
Okay.
Uh,
Um, what was the atmosphere like in TF2 Center back then? And this would be 2014, right? That's looks like
yeah,
around the earliest log I can find from you of it. Okay.
yeah, I would say like the one of the like not the most toxic, but like close to as toxic as I've been around. I mean, you had like certain cliques that would play with each other, like certain groups of friends that would play, and they don't mean any harm by it, but like they just end up stacking the lobby because like you see a plat player, like three plat players wanting to play, a lobby, so all the players that are new or like that aren't really aware of who they are, they join the other team because it's like, oh, the spot that I want is not full. So then they end up just getting like utterly rolled, like completely shit stomped,
Hmm.
dare I say, because it's like, oh well, they don't know any better. So that was a big part of it, just getting rolled and by better players.
But it was something people would like actually trying to take a bit seriously.
Yeah, I think there were some games where you'd get like some 3-2s. I mean, it was mostly playing like product. Like almost every single game was just product.
So nothing's changed.
Yeah, it literally was. I think like every now and again, someone would put like an upward or a bad water, or maybe swift water every now and again. But usually it was just up or product every single time.
Okay. And yeah, so you'd say the experience was fairly higher on average back then, like it was people who were actually trying and caring about, yeah?
Yeah, I'd say people kind of held it as more like, I mean, I can't speak to everyone's opinion, but like I feel like people tried a lot more
Right.
per se, and like people try a lot in pugs nowadays, but like I think back then, since that was like you could see your win rate, you could see like the stars. I think they had the star system to show like I don't know how that worked, but that there was like the TF2 rankings, so you could look on the TF2 rankings and see what rank you were at engineer or medic or scout. So that was kind of something to play for that people kind of held in.
Right, right. Yeah, so how does it compare to the modern sorts of like in-house groups?
Oh, I feel like I'm kind of like the worst person to ask that question, but I will gladly answer.
Oh yeah?
Um, so I'm kind of like part of the problem with the in-house groups, and I'll admit it. I'll admit it live here. I do not take in-houses or pugs seriously at all. Um, I will play my main, like I'll play medic in those for sure. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood, and got done scrimming for 2.5 hours. I'm not going to play medic, so I just don't. But yeah, I definitely don't try in those. So I'm part of the problem. Um, but I think people generally take them, not too seriously, but kind of, you know, you got like at different ends of the spectrum where you got the players that are, kind of lower invite, mid invite, or, advanced, or a little bit lower than advanced, kind of like mid advanced, that are kind of trying. They're trying to, have fun or, participate and get on a good class that they like. But sometimes they just, are SOL and they get forced onto medic or engineer when they don't want to play it, or pyro or something, and that those games can be a little frustrating. And then you have like the higher level invite players that will go in and some of them will sweat as hard as they can to win because they want to like show to their friends their logs, which is fine. Everyone's allowed to sweat. Um, but it's kind of like you look at your team, and I don't want to say this because it's like everyone can be friends with everyone, but it's like sometimes I'll play those games and I'll see like a friends list diff. I'll press tab and I'll be like, I don't have anyone added. I don't recognize anyone on my team. And I look at the other team and there's just friends list note like icon against their whole team, and I'm like, oh, probably gonna get rolled. Like,
Hmm.
so but I think with the pug atmosphere, I think as long as the admins aren't too harsh with the way they restrict people, like letting people play their mains, but just balancing out the teams, you're never going to get a perfect balance, and sometimes people are going to try on their main, sometimes people are going to troll on their main. It's like just finding a good balance of not being too harsh, but letting those players know that like it's okay to soft troll if you're playing your main because you're still probably better than most people if there are a lot of people that were sweating. But like let's make sure that we're at least like trying to not hurt anyone's feelings, but have like a good time.
Right. So so you have like this problem, right? How much of a problem do you think it actually is, though? Do you think it's something that like maybe people get a bit too worked up over, or do you think it's something that maybe sort of like does some harm to the pug groups and to the community?
I think what I do is harmful to the pug community, but I don't pug as much. I try to
Hmm.
really like I really try to stay away from pugging because I know that when I join pugs, I'm going to like troll. I just
Right.
can't take them seriously, so I try not to pug as much. Sometimes I will try, like I will, do a little bit of effort here and there, but it's very difficult for me to try in such like a different atmosphere than what I'm normally used
Right.
to with my competitive.
So, what are your thoughts on the sort of people who like contribute to the problem in a similar way, but then always sort of like force their way into those groups, or like always try and get their way with them?
I think that everyone should be included in pugs, but I think at a point it's like you shouldn't be trying to like ruin people's day or like uh, be like disrespectful towards the other players just because like you think they're really bad. Or like I always thought that like, oh, if back when I played UGC or TF2 Center, people would make fun of you for being bad. Nowadays, I feel like that's probably a lot less of that stuff happens. But then again, it's like it's behind closed doors. I can't always see it, because I don't really check the pug groups that often.
Right.
But it'd be nice to kind of maybe have like an admin of sorts that has more authority. I don't know how many people play RGL pugs, but I assume in RGL pugs, if you troll those, you just get instantly banned. So I at least I hope so.
Yeah, they have systems of sorts in place. So, how long has this sort of like pug culture been a thing, and is it consistent across games, or do you think it's more of like a Team Fortress 2 specific thing?
I play a lot of World of Warcraft in my free time,
Ooh,
and it is very similar to WoW in the sense of if you don't have like some people will take it upon themselves to ruin everyone's experience. So I think that's just people in general that people will do that. If they're having a bad day or they just take it out on other people, and like that will happen. But like trolling and stuff like that, I think it's fun if you do it in like soft trolling. Like a good example of soft trolling would be like, hey, the enemy medic just dropped. Our team is just rolling them. I'm gonna use so it's even Ubers when they try to retake the point. Like that is a little bit of a troll, like a major troll, but it's like it kind of evens out the playing field. And
right.
not everyone needs to do that, but it kind of makes it a little bit more more like less of a hill to climb for the losing team. But
Right.
I think the people kind of stay the same across games. Like I think it's very similar in most games that I've played, where people are, you know, want to play with their friends, which is perfectly fine. People that get banned want to get back into the pug group, and they'll make it make alts to try to get in. Like that goes across every game.
Yeah. So, what would you say to the sort of people who do that? Like, what would your advice be to them?
What's that mean? Stop. Get some help.
Pug addiction?
Yeah, like pug addiction. I mean, I know some people who have a pug addiction, and it's funny because they always complain that the pugs are so bad, but then they just keep playing them again. It's so
Right.
funny.
Uh, Sorry, as you're saying?
No, I was just gonna say I respect the grind though. I think it's really fun that a lot of people are still trying to pug and just still play the game even after scrims or when there's downtime. Like I think that's
Right.
good. You know.
No, definitely, yeah. Helps keep the community alive, helps keep the competitive community kind of like interacting with each other, and can really help some people network, unless, of course, trolling overboard goes.
Yeah.
So, okay. What would a Blake Pug group look like? What would Blake Pugs be?
Oh, they'd be rancid.
Oh, yeah?
My God. I would always. I think my pugs would be last to spec is med, of course. Bring back last to spec equals med. So get 18 people in the server. Everyone get on a class. Everyone jump around. Play the game, and then whoever's running the pug just quickly says last to spec is med. The two people that are left in, or whatever, the last two people are forced to be medic. They fight at mid or whatever mid fight you're at. Saws only. And then whoever wins gets to pick first pick or second pick. Get those pugs rolling. I'd say if you want a main class, you have to use at least one funny weapon. So like for scouts, if you're a scout, main and you're, invite level, like invite winning or top of invite, you got to run like the soda popper or something silly.
So no wish mode?
No, no wish mode. True.
I respect it. Man of the people.
Yeah, I definitely want to be. My pugs would definitely be silly pugs. I think a big part of those pugs would also be no sniper mains allowed on sniper.
Oh, based.
Yeah, no sniper mains allowed on sniper. But if both teams agree to have a sniper main on sniper, then they can do that.
Okay.
So like, no Nixie versus, me or something. Like that would go horribly. Like Nixie would just dumpster me the entire time and my team would be getting upset or something. Like I think if you have two competent snipers, that's perfectly fine.
What if you just banned all the sniper mains?
No.
No?
No.
You don't think that'd be a step in the right direction?
No, because my good friend Lenny hasn't played Pugs in
Oh,
how
no.
long. He's been barred from Pugs.
And why would that be? You have any insight into that?
I don't have much insight. I mean, I know that he is a very dominant sniper, and that might play a part in it. I know he can be a little. How do I say this? Like, I know he can get frustrated with teammates, but I doubt that's part of it. I mean, maybe it is, but I know that when he's on sniper, it's very difficult for people to enjoy the game.
Okay.
That's for sure. Like I understand that, but
so do you think when like it comes like what would your player base be like? What sort of people would you let in? What would you ban people for? What would the skill range be?
Skill range, I think. Come one, come all.
Okay.
I'm down for anyone who wants to get better, wants to come play the pug. I had a moment, or I had a team a few seasons ago where my friends that have long stopped playing TF2 came back to play advanced Highlander with me, and there was a moment of pugs where I would captain, and I normally never captain, but I would captain just to pick them so that they would get picked and play. And, I might have ruined some pugs by doing that because the other team just got better players because my friends weren't like, like for instance, the other team picks blank as their first pick and I pick someone who hasn't played TF2 in like, 3 years, 4 years. So maybe a little imbalanced, but I definitely think that come one, come all. Uh, if you want to get better, you're more than welcome to, like sit around and chat and, talk to people. I think a really good thing that I think, if you know AGB is
Yeah.
like just really good on every class for the most part, like from what I've seen. And they're always like, newer players or people that are coming into Pugs, like if they ask AGB a question about like certain scenarios or stuff, like they're always like welcoming to answer them or like help them out. So I think that's like a good environment to kind of like strive for, that where the lower level players that may not feel confident, like, you know, performing their best or kind of in this newer environment where the skill gap is kind of broad or like kind of large, that they can ask questions and look
Right.
for, help.
So do you think it would be important to just like, do you think it's about how people act in the pug group, in the pugs themselves, or maybe like, do you think it would also be important to like sort of gatekeep or restrict your player base based off of how they interact in the wider community or out of game as well? Like, do you think it's only important to focus on in game when it comes to your player base, rather, or out of game as well? Is my question to you.
I think it depends on how they're interacting with others. Like, I think if you maliciously like go after somebody after a pug for poor performance, and like you're not doing it in a joking way or not really friends with that person, then that can be kind of like uh, kind of alienating to people who want to try their class or like don't really have, you know, because if you think about it, you only scrim 4 times a week for the
Right.
most part. So pugs are another way of quote unquote scrimming, even though they're not really organized as a scrim. It's at least like DM practice for your class.
How about
So yeah.
so how about like outside the group itself though? Do you think it's kind of important to try and like curate and cultivate an atmosphere in that sense?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it'd be great to have everyone be nice and respectful to each other, and if a something goes wrong, people just laugh. Like we have this, or kind of like an ongoing joke that a perma band player by the name of Pablo. I don't know if you know who they are.
Ah, yes, I am.
Yeah, Pablo and I, if we are on a team together in Pugs, that team loses 100%. Like we are going to lose no matter what. Like we are always like we laugh way too hard when things go wrong. We always take like what was they Ray Ubers. We just love like messing around. So that kind of like environment where people are like playing with their friends or playing with new people, I think that's like really important to cultivate, that people are
Mm.
having fun. Like
Right.
we're just playing this game to have fun. Like there's no reason to like get worked up. Like I've been, I've been there where like, I get frustrated and people are playing poorly and I get mad, but like, it's better to like save it for, your own like head, or, talk to your little circle and be like, wow, that pug was terrible. Be like, yeah,
Right.
it was. And then, and then move on,
Do you think that's something that most groups have trouble sort of like doing or capturing?
I haven't really been paying attention to the pug groups recently, but I think it's really difficult to get an environment where you have like a large skill gap, because the pugs just end up being like which team gets to pick the quote unquote best player.
Right, or like like, or it's like you have the two best players, and then it's like one team gets one, the other team gets the other, and then it's just like they always get picked, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's part of it, but it's also fat kids is a rule that I do not agree with, and I am a
Oh,
fat kid. I get fat kidded all the time,
okay.
and so, or not all the time, but like I will get fat kidded a lot because people know that I troll. People know that if I'm not on Medic, I'm probably not that good of a pick,
Hmm.
so that's perfectly fine. But I think that the fat kid rule is kind of like part of that, where people are like kind of maybe swayed a little bit less to try because they're like, oh, I have this person on my team. They're so bad. Like, I think trying to get away from that where you're not forced to pick them. But, if they do get picked, they get to play. Like, kind of how HL Pugs had it.
Right. So what would you do for newer players then to help them sort of like get picked if you have newer players and more experienced players in the same group?
Play Medic.
Oh,
If you
Medic
are
play.
a newer player, play Medic.
That's some solid advice right there. It could really help you just sort of like learn the game, yeah?
Oh, yeah. And here's the best part about playing Medic and Pugs. If you are losing and getting like dumpstered on, and you're not using when people tell you to use, or you're dropping Ubers, you're walking into spam, I promise you, I was like the same. I literally did that same stuff like hundreds of times in TF2 Center. I did that same stuff in HL Pugs. Like, it happens. You just gotta like, you just gotta move on. You gotta recognize what happened and just move on. Like, laugh it up. Don't get frustrated with your teammates for not like, giving you instructions, or if you get yelled at, just kind of like laugh it off. You know, it's gonna happen. But if you're a newer player, I think the best way to learn, or at least like get involved in the Pugs, is just play Medic. Like, no one wants. A lot of people don't want to play Medic, and if you just go out there and just give it your best, if someone says to use, you use, and you try your best. Like, you're gonna get picked more often. You might get picked more often on Medic, but maybe some days, someone's like, "Hey, I really like playing with that person because they were so much fun to have in our
Right.
team. We already picked a Medic, but maybe you could play, Pyro. Okay, well, you get to play Pyro for a round, or a game. Oh, well, we liked having you, and our Medic's taken, Pyro's taken. Oh, put you an engineer."
So,
And
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
So you would say like it's about just like showing your willingness to sort of like flex around and play whatever the team needs, rather than trying to like assert yourself as, oh, I really want to play this new class. I really want to play this class because it's the class I play, right? Like that would really help as a newer player.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's definitely some pretty solid advice. Yeah, I feel like that is one of the things you see with like RGL pugs, where it's all about the new player experience, and it's just like the teams can kind of really suffer for that, and then it's like it could really negatively impact the experience for other people.
Yeah, it can be frustrating.
Right, and because it's not always just about yourself, right? It's about like the experience for your team as a whole, the enemy team, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
so, so do you think trolling like so let's talk about trolling a little bit, right? Just one more question, kind of along those lines. Do you think it's more about just like the mental effect, like, oh, this person is trolling, and then it sort of catches on, or do you think it's more harmful in the straight gameplay sense of, oh, this person is on this loadout, that's the sort of effect they have on the game, like my pyro has flaws, so they can't reflect? Do you think it's more of a mental thing, or more of just like a sheer mechanical thing?
I think, I love how you mentioned Pyro, because like, I think some people think that the jetpack is trolling, and I completely disagree with that.
Based!
I think jetpack is like the most fun you can have on Pyro. Number one, and pugs are supposed to be fun. Number two, like, if your pyro is playing a bombing class, why aren't you being aggressive with that aggression? Like, I think there's a lot of ways that people can use trolling to their benefit. Like, what was it? A good example is Dotwit. Dotwit has like the most rancid minis, but like where they're just like always up and they're always super passive. If I was a sniper on his team, I would just try to like play near that mini or use that mini as like my protection. Now, obviously, there's not, not every troll is useful, but I think is like a mechanical sense, or like as a enjoyment factor, you can use that kind of trolling to at least like have some fun with it. Because
Right.
you're not going to have a troll in every game, but like if you do see someone that's trolling, try to take advantage of it. Be like, oh, hey, our teammates running flog. Okay, let's try to get them grouped up so they can spam their
Right.
detonator, or what have you. Like,
So it's all about just like trying to work together and have a collectively good experience rather than trying to like enforce your will, you'd say?
exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
that's a really good thing.
I respect that. Alright, and would you say there's benefit to, let's call it collaborative trolling?
Yes, I think running it up is a good description of that.
Alright.
Uh, I think running it up is very fun. Uh, I think if you're trying to have fun in Pugs and you guys, take some silly engineer Uber, but then your engineer gets behind them and places a telly, and then now your pyro takes the telly and backburners their team. Like that kind of stuff can be really fun.
Right.
You coordinate your trolling to try and succeed. Like as long as you're trolling and you're trying to win, that's the goal.
Right. Do you think maybe like just sort of like that willingness to experiment, just sort of do stuff like that, kind of helps develop the meta as well? Like maybe people are like, oh, this works super effective. Maybe we could try this out with my own team.
Oh yeah, I think I never saw Jetpack Pyro like ever, like in like all my years of Highlander. And then I think I saw it in Pugs, and then like a week later or something, I saw Marty using Jetpack Pyro on one of the mids on Asheville, Cascade, and he
it's
like
so fun for
combo
Cascade
or something. Yeah.
If you had the opportunity to, would you troll Banny with the jetpack?
I believe I've seen your video.
Excellent.
And I love that because it's like it's a bunch of Sixes players just getting like rickrolled by the Jetpack Pyro, which is pretty funny.
Who would win? Okay, a little self-insert out of the way. Philosophical question, truly. But yeah. Do you think there's benefit to like? Do you think that same sort of reasoning can be applied to like Highlander teams as a whole, like when you're playing as a team during a season?
I think it's. I feel like I can't. So, the team I play on right now, we are, or at least like the past couple of seasons. I think last season I played with Wish Mode, which is very like, loves to play aggressive and experiment with those kind of things. So I think it's just kind of up to your team and like the environment,
right?
Because some of my teams have been, because I don't want to like spoil it for everyone, but honestly, like some of the best ways to win Highlander is to play really slow and boring and just capitalize on mistakes and use information to decide your aggression. But with that being said, I think if you have the right environment and you have the like willingness to try new things, you can definitely experiment and kind of improve the meta a little bit.
Right.
Like upward first. I think a big part of the meta has always been just exchange Ubers and, now we just try to get playground control and do not, and, the enemy team's trying to get their sniper in a good position. Both teams are trying to like avoid SVS, but, blue side is trying to take the SVS. I think that is like, a cool, slow paced meta. But a lot of teams, they take aggressive Ubers on defense to try to stuff that exchange or catch the medic out before the exchange. I think that's a really cool, like aggressive, maybe a little bit troll if you don't get the proper information.
Right.
But I think that's a way to kind of innovate. I don't think there's going to be a lot of like loadout changes with, having fun like that. I think Jay was using like the soda popper on Viaduct when he rang scout for us. Granted that's Jay, so he's like one of the best players in the game. So, not every scout can run that gun, but he was running soda popper on product, so he could just jump all over the map, which is really cool. But it's kind of hard to implement as a team.
Right.
But you could look for those ideas if your team is up for it. But like I said earlier, it's sad to say, but playing slow and boring is kind of the best way to win.
Right. So, what would the Blake Pugs map pool be like? What are your thoughts on Pug maps? Do you think Stopwatch is good for Pugs?
No.
No? Okay.
No. I think the only way you could have fun on Stopwatch is if you had 2 competent demos, 2 competent engineers, and good snipers on both sides. And that's really difficult to get in a Pug. It's really hard to get equal demos, main callers, equal main caller demos, 2 good engineers that want to play engineer, and 2 good snipers that are also like getting that like kind of, let's call it exodia of an environment is kind of really difficult to get payload Pugs.
Right. Like it's just incredibly one way or the other usually, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's either your defense is good or your offense is terrible. Like it's one of the two. There's never like a good
Right.
like mix or a good distribution of skill in the payload department.
All right. And then how about Koth maps? Do you have any like specific thoughts about those, or do you think it's just like all Koth maps are worth playing for Pugs?
I definitely wouldn't play the pro version of Cascade, or not the pro version, but the one that's like baseline in TF2. Like the old version of Cascade would be one of them. Ram Jam would be one of them. Uh,
You've insulted all the Ram Jam fans, my good sir.
no, I love Ram Jam. I said Ram Jam would be in.
Oh, it would be in. I thought you were talking about ones you wouldn't want to be in.
Oh no, I'm just gonna say ones I want to be.
I might not have heard that part.
So
I definitely respect it.
Yeah, Ram Jam, Viaduct, of course, Asheville, Warm Tick, but with Warm Tick has a caveat. No snipers allowed to go in those upper buildings.
So what you're suggesting is Highlander mapmakers make a pro version of Warmtick with a no sniper zone. If your sniper class instantly kills you.
I'd say it just like blocks the sightline. Like it has. If you've ever played Harvest and you have like I don't know what it is in your config, but like that one room with the small health pack behind the point. Like
Right.
if you're trying to go into the other team's house, kind of like dims the light. I think it would make it so you just can't see out of it if you're a sniper.
Could you see the benefits of it being an insta-kill sort of thing, though? Punish those
Oh
sniper
yes,
players.
yes,
Give some psychological conditioning, you know?
of course.
I think that's really the future of Highlander and how you balance maps. You just gotta condition them.
Oh, boxes. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, okay, instead of making it a no-build zone, what if you just kill engineers or like X-class that goes there, right?
That'd be unfortunate, but I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
I think
what do
it
you
could
think?
work.
Future of Highlander, maybe?
I mean, maybe like a silly pug environment for fun. Yeah.
Alright. So maybe it needs a little time in the oven, huh?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely could be an option, though. Okay. Definitely some interesting insight. Alright, so what was HLPugs.tf like?
Oh, it feels the glory days. I guess is a good way to describe it. Fun, uh, kind of toxic, but I mean that's just like the environment that you were in with like the elo, and you could see
Right.
everyone's win rate, so everyone's a little, they want to win. I didn't play as much as a lot of people did, but I enjoyed the time I was on there. I met my sixes team on there. Um, that's where I kind of play like grinded a lot of Medic uh, when I first
Okay.
started to play Medic. So that was, I'd say HL Pugs was kind of the high point of TF2 Pugs in my mind because, granted, not everyone got picked. Granted, it was, kind of quote unquote circle of friends versus quote unquote circle of friends. Like, it was kind of those battles, but I think for the most part, it was really fun, very competitive. Uh, a lot of times you'd see like some of the best players
Right.
in by Highlander on both teams. So it'd be really cool to, or Plat Highlander to see, those people face off, even if some spy is on scout or, some soldiers on sniper or something like that. At least you see them, the game sense is still there.
Right. How do you feel about league ran pugs?
I have yet to do one, so I can't really comment on that.
That's fair. Alright. Okay. So let's transition away from pugs. Yeah, I feel like we've given that a pretty thorough covering, if I do say so myself. Yeah. Definitely interesting to hear about all of that, though. I appreciate it.
Okay.
So you mentioned first getting into Medic, right?
Mm-hmm.
What sort of brought that on? You went from like playing combat classes, like the alt engineer to sniper, right? What sort of got you into Medic and how? Like, what's the story there?
I mean, I can make it longer too. I went from engineer to sniper. Then from Sniper, a good friend of mine, or kind of like a random person at the time, asked me on TF2 Center to play Spy, or to play Sniper so it was Spy. It asked me to play Spy, and I said, "Can I play Ambi Spy?" This is back when Ambassador was like, you could 102 anyone from anywhere on the map. So I was like, "Sure." Then they got banned for cheating off of Sniper. So then I played Sniper. Then we picked up a Sniper friend of mine named Gert the season after, and I played Heavy. And then after playing Heavy, I was like, this is pretty fun playing a combo class. And then went back to Sniper. And then I was playing on a team in Silver, like the 9 Gentlemen, I think it was. And I forget what happened. I might have been just getting like dumpstered on Sniper, and our medic was just like not playing that well per se. And I'd always played like, like I said earlier, that if you want to get into Pugs, you should play medic. I played medic in TF2 Center, but like I didn't really know how to play medic, so I played a little bit of medic there. I played, uh, you know, as much as I could really, but I was terrible. I was so bad. Now I had like a good understanding of SVS, so like when the sniper needs to get buffed, which I'll do a PSA. My Timeless told me to do a PSA in this. PSA to all medics: buff your sniper at all times. Like it doesn't hurt; it only helps.
Would you say maybe you would want to charge money for buffs as a medic? Maybe make sure the sniper pays you money? Do you think that could help out? Maybe incentivize people to play medic, yeah?
No, I think that if you're playing medic, you should just buff as much as you can. Use your crit heals to your advantage. Get your sniper buffed. They'll protect you. Sometimes they'll miss, but when they do go on those crazy 7Ks, 9Ks, you'll be happy that you buffed them and gave them the confidence.
Right. Okay, I do actually have one more question about Pugs that was sort of escaping my mind earlier, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem.
How do you feel about out-of-region players at Pugs? Do you feel like them, like, sort of having ping helps to, like, detracts from the experience, or do you think it's kind of interesting and adds more to the experience of the Pugs, just sort of like having those differing perspectives and different playstyles?
I think more the merrier, honestly.
Okay.
Like, one of my friends, Raw Med, if you know who they are.
Yes, actually, I plan on covering him in the future.
Yeah, that guy is awesome, by the way. Shout out to Raw Med. Taught me actually a couple of cool techs about Medic, so that was awesome. But yeah, he came and played Pugs, and he was awesome. Like, he came and played Medic, and he captained, even though he probably didn't know like a bunch of the people. Which I'd say probably stay away from that if you're not like following the scene, or like you're not really too involved in the other regions, like scene or whatever. They're
the players, yeah.
Scene. Yeah, but I've played some EU Pugs. 120 ping medic was pretty fun. But yeah, I think more the merrier. If you're from another region and you can reach out to someone that runs the Pugs or whatever, and you're awake at the time or the time zones match up, like feel free to come out and Pug. Like, just kind of have fun, meet new people. But yeah, go for it. I think it's cool.
And when can we expect to see Blake Pugs, seeing as you already have all this policy developed?
Never.
That's a shame.
It's too much effort. I would never.
That's fair. Okay, so back to Medic. So what was it like getting into it initially? Was it something that was sort of exciting? Were you sort of pensive to try it out? And how did people kind of treat you?
I kind of got blessed, I guess. I got really lucky. I had a friend of mine who was an invite spy at the time, or plat spy at the time, Mr. Del Dongo. If you click the heart on my profile, it takes you to his profile.
Spicy.
Yeah.
I wonder why I did that tone of voice.
Yeah, anyway, he told me that he was making a sixes team, and I think Rain, another good friend of mine, said that they were making a sixes team, and they were going to call it hlpugs.tf, and they wanted me to play Medic. And I was like, sounds good. I've never played sixes before, but this sounds fun. And through that, I just kind of learned as I went. I watched a lot of Shade at the time, like when he would stream or any VOD that I could get my hand on. And then another medic for Highlander I would watch VODs of. Uh, and I would just kind of like try to absorb as much information, kind of look at, my movement and how are my rollouts. A big thing that I think playing those sniper and the heavy and the spy kind of gave me is a good understanding of like forward aggression,
Right.
because sometimes medic can get like really overwhelming with like players that are hurt near you, and you can kind of get lost in the fact that, hey, your soldier's bombing, or your scout is fighting across the map, or your pyro or whatever your team is fighting them, further down the map. So if you're watching them, you can, go for arrows. Now you should go for arrows all the time, but
And what do you say, like, furthermore, kind of just helped contextualize what your teammates were thinking and when? Like, for instance, in team discussions, was it the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, okay, I can see where this person's coming from a lot more. I can kind of put myself into their perspective due to having played those other classes?
yeah. I think it's also like a big thing that I still take to this day is like people can miss, like take that into account. Like if someone's in a good position and they just miss all their shots, like that happens, and you just gotta let it go. Like sometimes you just miss. Like it's a game. You can't be 100% accurate.
Right.
So I
Okay.
think that helped a lot. But yeah, my sixes team, that was really awesome playing with them. We didn't lose a single match. Uh, it was ESA Open, like season 28, and we were a bunch of like Highlander players playing sixes, and it was just like, I don't know. I learned how to arrow. I learned what crit heals was. I kind of got carried pretty hard because our scouts were just ridiculously strong compared to their competition. I had Rain and Wish on scout.
Oh, wish mode.
Yeah, and they were just, not like leagues above the competition, but it was very like, when your scouts are dropping 40, 60 kills, it's very difficult for the enemy team to like do much.
Right. So, did you ever end up researching, like, medics from other regions as well? Like, was that sort of an interest of yours?
I believe someone mentioned to watch Kradu. Is that how you say their name?
Uh, I'm honestly not familiar. With the pronunciation of it, yeah.
But yeah, that EU medic is nuts. They have insane mechanics.
Hmm.
They're I've seen a couple of their demos. They have really really good mechanics. I think that's like as much as looking at like other regions, I think it's more just like recognizing that, like, I think there's another medic named Seeds. That's another sixes medic.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, some of these sixes medics have like an extra hand. I don't I don't know. Like they're crazy. They're really like their mechanics are a top tier. Like watching them play is just really cool.
Would you say that it kind of helped you to start off with sixes medic and work your way to Highlander?
Well, at the time that I was playing sixes, I was thinking of playing Highlander, but I still had some like issues to work out with
Right.
like not playing. It was kind of like challenging to figure out like, okay, now I'm on medic. I don't really get to shoot anyone. I'm not really enjoying the class that much, even if we were winning. I wasn't really into it at the time.
Right.
So
Would you say maybe it's a bit less low pressure than in something like Highlander, though, when you always have to worry about, like, sight lines, soldier bombs, spies? Or would you say it was kind of more just like having to learn how to surf, relying on that sort of lack of a safety net?
I think to describe, like, I don't want to piss anyone off, but it's like I feel like sixes, it's kind of up to your competition to make it harder. Like, do they push off of ads? Do they, block out your escape? Do their soldiers know how to properly like speed shot into you or hit those? Can they force the pencil? Or, yeah, it's on you to have the mechanics and like game sense. And I've never had sixes game sense, so I can't really speak to that. But I think with sixes being very mechanically intensive and me just not really understanding the game mode all that much, it only really felt tough when the enemy soldiers were good at the game. Like,
Okay.
and that's just being like very broad of like, I do think sixes medic in just general is definitely more mechanically intensive because that's all I can kind of speak towards. Like whenever I play sixes, or if I did still play sixes, I think that I would have to improve mechanically
Right.
a lot.
Uh, okay. Do you think it'd be better to start off as a Highlander medic player or a sixes medic player if you were going to end up transitioning in the game modes, like between the game modes?
Oh, I 100% think sixes is better. 100%.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think if you can't find a way to play a DPS class, like a combat class, then 100% play sixes medic first. Like you might struggle when you first come to Highlander with like the sniper and the spy and that sort of like slower paced gameplay and then chaos environment where like people are calming constantly and your ears are just being attacked from everything. I think you might struggle a little bit, but your mechanics are a lot more I feel like the Highlander game sense is teachable if you have the mechanics on medic, and I think sixes definitely gives you those tools to excel.
Right, because it's like you have less of a safety net to rely on, right? Like no pirate or deny anything like that. Okay, yeah. And it's like much more punishing for the mistakes you make, right? Like they're made, right? Because it's more along the lines of your own mistakes and less of your team's, yeah?
Oh yeah, like
Okay.
a good example of that is on mids. I was unaware when I first started to play sixes that the medics just beam a lot on mids to try to get uber super fast. Because in Highlander, yeah, you're beaming, but like you're arrowing your heavy, you're arrowing your soldier, you're arrowing your
Right.
engineer, and sixes medics they'll just hold the beam, get uber, and then uber into you on mids if those mids are super scuffed. Now this is probably a low div thing that happens a lot because people are like indecisive and they can't really collapse on the damage as well as they can in higher levels. But that was like a big like eye opener. Like holy crap, they got uber. I'm at 85%.
Cheats. No way.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was it like playing in sixes as a bunch of Highlander players? How did the competition usually respond to you, and like, what was it like to actually play it?
I think on TFTV, anytime we posted anything, it got downvotes. But other than that, uh, I mean, we kind of just rolled them though. Like it was open, it was ESEA open, and I don't know if there was like I'm not really involved in the sixes like scene that much, but especially at that time. But it was kind of just like our scouts are better than all the scouts in the div, and I don't think teams like I think teams assumed that we were going to play sixes when like we were more than happy to like pushing process last, like or not, yeah, process last. We would sack two and then swap to sniper and heavy.
Highlander! Holy
Yeah.
shit!
So like we would abuse the Highlander classes a lot. Like gully wash, we would always have a heavy pushing last if we could.
Alright.
Our spies, we would run a spy and like a pyro sometimes. Like we were more than happy doing that, and I think it's just like our scouts were so much better than the scouts that were playing in open at the time that it was very roll heavy.
Right, okay. So, what led you to be the medic you are today? Like, what was the story behind your ascent, kind of, after that point? Like, initially getting into Medic and Highlander and sort of how you got to where you are today, like all these invite wins.
Oh, some stinky player named Demento. I don't know if you know who that is.
Hmm. I'm gonna have to roll a d20, see what the read of that is. But, okay. And when would that be?
I think I met Demento season 1 of. Well, I had met him before in like HL Pugs and that like Pug, like the in-house Pugs, kind of not really on the website. And I met him before, but I think he was following along with our like sixes games. You know, because he has friends like Wish and him were friends, and Dongus, which was one of our soldiers at the time, was a friend of his. And he asked me to sub on their roster on Kids Next Door. Seeing from me playing sixes, he asked me to sub for them.
Right.
And I subbed in a few times. Let me tell you, coming in to sub and getting asked to play, and you get in the server and you have like Banny and like Jarrett and Boar and like all these like big names at the time, like was so nerve wracking that I played terrible. I
And
played terrible.
you would say, like, yeah, like the mental really plays a huge part as a medic, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I always preach this. If I do have any time to do any mentoring, but like a big thing with medic is just being confident. Like especially in Highlander, like you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna have bad games, you're gonna miss arrows, but like if you just feel confident and you know not disrespect your opponent, but kind of like respect your skill and the fact that you belong here, you can
Right.
do this.
Like know your limits, yeah?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. And is that definitely something that just like built as you played with like the same players, you got more familiar with the players? Were you less worried about them sort of like judging you for any mistakes you made? Like how did you sort of become more self-confident, and what would your advice be to build that?
Um, Again, I'll say I was spoiled. Um, so with Demento picking me up and asked me to sub, whenever I did get to play, they made it very clear that I don't have to say anything. All I need to do is heal and live. And that made me like, wait, like I could do that. Like I can live. Like I know what I'm doing. And I think just faith in your teammates, like a big part of like your confidence in yourself can just be like, I guess this is kind of goes on like a knife's edge with blaming your teammates and not having accountability for your own play. But at this, like, not to go fully into that department, but like
Right.
have confidence that like you guys are all here to win. You're all trying to win. And if you just do your job in healing the best you can and ignore the bad plays, or at least put them to the side while you're playing,
Right.
uh, you can succeed. I mean, it's obviously I'm preaching from I've got the blessing to play with some of the best players in Highlander, so it's kind of like maybe someone's looking at it like, oh well, you got to play with these guys, so you never really had to struggle. And it's like, yeah, I can see that, but it's also like I'm confident with my team. Like, sometimes uh, I'll be frustrated with them, but I'm just confident that if I do my best to survive and heal, and I'm just confident that I can do that, and even if I'm like struggling or having a bad game, you know, if I just move on, maybe think about it after the fact, maybe put it to the side, I can bring it back. To kind of answer that.
All right, yeah. And how did it feel to like just be playing with all those top players, to be getting like so many first and second place placements in like the best of the best with the best of the best?
Uh, Honestly, a big thing that like helped me playing with them was realizing that they're bad as well.
Wow.
Like I can't really describe it, but like I always thought like when I was a silver player that the high level invite players can do no wrong. Like the plat players are so good and they know what to do, and well, frankly, they don't. It's give and take. It's trial and error. It's people make mistakes. People do pencil bombs here and there. Obviously, that's way less common nowadays because the soldiers are crazy. Uh, but like people make mistakes. Your demo, forgets to trap something and they walk in. I think a lot of it was just realizing that they're human too, and we're all just a bunch of nerds trying to have fun, win, and that was like a big part. Kind of tail back to like the confidence of like, wow, okay, everyone else is also like on the same page, like we're
Right. So it's not about like. So it's important to like not place any players on a pedestal to sort of just like view everybody on an equal footing as another player, kind of.
oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, yeah. I feel like that could very much be like a very important thing when it comes to just like people's mentalities, yeah. Alright. No, I definitely respect that. That's some good insight. Um, so ultimately, what did you think of the UGC days?
um I met some of my closest friends during that time. I still hang out with them. I mean, you can see my profile picture. It's on Discord. It's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
Well, my friends that I met in UGC, we all have the same Discord profile picture. So it's just a different version of this person's face. But yeah, UGC days were great. I I'm happy that I got to play other classes. Never got to play in plat. Only played in silver, so that was unfortunate, but it was okay. It's all right. It was fun.
Okay. What did you think about just like the league as a whole, though? Like, do you think there's something maybe that they did particularly better at than RGL?
Mm, I mean, not really. I wasn't too involved with like the forums or anything like that, or the admins. I mean, there
Hmm.
was one time that our there's one time in silver that one of our players, or it was like a CP Steel game, and we had 7 in the server and the other team had 9, and we were like, okay, we're going to ready up and pause so our 8th player, because we were just going to play 8v9 because one of our players was like rushing home from whatever he was doing.
Right.
And as soon as we readied up, an admin came in the server and said, okay, you guys forfeit because you guys don't have enough players. And that was like, we had no idea that that was a rule or anything. Granted, that's not really a good excuse, but like that was pretty wild that they wouldn't let us just play with 7. So that was pretty funny. But
Okay.
I've never experienced that with RGL. But I've also, silver and invite drastically different
Right.
environments.
Um. Okay. Yeah, I don't think the more like league-focused questions are gonna be as interesting to sort of like ask for this one, which is definitely fair. Um. Okay. Let's break away from that series then. So, was there like I know you're in silver, but was there much of like a sense of identity with other medic players? Like, was it sort of something that you would talk about a lot with other medic players? Was there like just a sense of culture behind it?
Not until I got to RGL did I
Hmm,
like talk to other medics.
I see.
Um, I think like a good example, or not really a good example, but something that I've noticed is I feel like the kind of to stem from what Danny was saying in his interview was teams talk to each other a lot more. It feels like team strategy and stuff like that is a lot more apparent, and I feel like with medic, it's like your team is really important. Like your teammates are, your protection, your kind of you're basically just a walking dispenser that can sometimes fend for themselves in like once every blue moon. But like I feel like the culture of talking to each other as medics is, you know, important. It can be useful. I know that if a medic reached out to me, I'd be more than happy to answer their question if I knew how to answer their question. Uh, but I think a lot of it just comes down to, as a medic, you gotta understand how your team wants to play, and outside help isn't really gonna help that. It's just gonna kind of like create a vacuum, or like a kind of like rebounding information. Because like as medics, I'm pretty sure every medic has had the problem of my demo takes too much damage. Like, okay, well, you asking another medic about your demo taking too much damage isn't going to help your demo not take as much damage. So, like, that could be good to talk to other medics. Like, how do you deal with rotating on this point? Like, I think that's cool. But the identity of like medics just bounding together and talking about it can only help if they bring it up to their team.
Right. Okay. Was there any discussion about like just new developments though, like stuff like the medic dropping tech, like the Medigun dropping tech, and just sorts of like meta discussions like that between medic mains much?
Yeah, a little bit. I have an insight to that tech a little bit.
Oh.
If a medic uses that versus me on, especially on Swiftwater second, you're just you're just wasting your time. Like, I'm not going to use. So, but shout outs to if you can
Huh?
make me use. And
What if? Okay. What if it was Kritzkrieg?
I think Kritzkrieg could work, but at the same time, like if we know you're on crits, we're not going to be playing
Right.
up there. So
What about for Koth? If it's like something you sort of pre-plan, for instance, off the back of the mid fight, do you think that could be something that potentially be interesting or beneficial?
yeah, I think crits on Koth is like kind of undiscovered territory still.
Right. And then it's just
Um,
like the idea of crits on demand, right? Like being able to get that force out and then just be able to use it afterwards, right? That could be pretty
yeah,
interesting.
I think that could be pretty interesting, but I also think that the way that a lot of teams use their crits is just fundamentally wrong.
Oh? How so?
But I mean, that's kind of a trade secret, but I guess I'll share it. A lot
Oh,
of
just for me.
teams a lot of teams try to kill the medic with their crits, which like is really troll versus good medics. Like I think we were talking about like Vigil second is like a really like everyone sacks on Vigil second, right? Like everyone when they first get to Vigil second on offense, they send a sack wave. Well, when you play against a good medic, well, let's use Casper for example. One of the medic for MCM last
Man
season.
Crush Monday, yeah.
Yeah, when you sack into Casper, Casper knows you're going to sack, so he's going to play accordingly. If you're on crits, his spy's going to call that you're on crits, and he's going to play, in Africa, in Uganda. Like you're not going to be able to go anywhere near him with that crits, and his pyro is going to be sitting there waiting for the crit sticky and reflect it. Now, granted, mistakes and human error can happen, but a lot of the times, like when you go for those plays versus those top level medics, they're so far removed from the situation that you using that crits, dropping it, picking up another one, and having crits again. If their spy is, like most good spies on defense, on payload, or on Koth are paying attention, you're not really going to catch them with it. Now, I do think that you could get away with it on Koth if you got a spy kill, but like that's kind of like stars aligning,
Right.
what if scenario where we have crits, our spy's alive, our spy dead rings, in
That's a very specific contingency to plan for, yeah. You
exactly.
gotta be
So,
pondering the orb for that one.
oh yeah. So I think it's, it could work, but with how smart a lot of the top level medics are with how they're positioned against crits, it's very difficult
Right,
to
like. Sorry?
it's very difficult to catch them out with crits unless it's for a fact like that they're on point, that you have the information, you have the setup ready. then for sure, yeah, you could take advantage of that. But those scenarios are, few and far between.
So you think it's the sort of thing where it's like using crits kind of in the first place kind of like fundamentally pigeonholes you into playing a certain way to get value off the crit streak that other teams are kind of prepared to know about?
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely interesting to hear. How do you feel about other metiguns? Do you think any are overused, underused? Give me some insight into that topic.
So I'm really lazy. Just extremely lazy. Like, I will use... I think it's been since I played a Memento Mori in 2020, in December of 2020, or like November of 2020. That was the last time I used crits on offense payload, or on defense payload to set up crit stickies. So a lot of medics set up crit stickies with their demo. I personally am just so lazy that I walk to where I'm going to stand for the first sack wave or whatever and just kind of like AFK. Which I wouldn't recommend doing that. That's just I'm super lazy, and I've had the pleasure of having demos that don't like crit stickies. But if your demo likes crit stickies, run crits. I think crits is underused. I think quick fix is really useful in certain times. I think if you're playing Highlander, you should be running Ubersaw 100%. I think Vaccinator is terrible.
Oh?
I think it takes too much skill and brain power. And if there is a medic out there that is really good with it, and you can get into a game and your team is ready for it and your team's going to use it, then go for it. But I think that the amount of value that combined health pool and the overheal that you get from the regular Medigun is just too powerful. Like, it's so good. Like, the fact that you can't get fully buffed with the Vaccinator just makes it, like, in my opinion, really, really bad.
Okay. No, that's definitely fair, yeah.
Like, if you were really good with it, maybe. And that's, like, if you were insane. Like, if you were so good that, like, you basically have to be cheating. Like, you have to be wall hacking to make it work, in my opinion.
Would you pick the world's best Vaccinator up on your Highlander team if you weren't a medic player?
No.
No?
No.
Damn. Alright. It's kind of sad to see. You hate to see it. No restriction 6's mains.
Sorry to say, I respect the grind. I respect the hustle of the medics that like to run other Mediguns, but I think Uber is too good. I just think being invulnerable versus enemy gamers is just too strong.
And you don't think any of the Mediguns get like a bad rap that isn't deserved per se?
Oh yeah. I think quick fix is amazing in the right circumstances, but a lot of the times it's like those close games where you need to get back to the point are like very few scenarios. But if you do switch to it, it's really awesome. And it can be really helpful to get two players on the point and jump in with your team. I think crits on offense on payload is underused, but then again, it takes like a lot of coordination and a lot of timing, and if the other team knows you're doing it, then you're kind of just critsing into the void because they're just going to bait it. And
you're just like relying on a miracle play that won't happen, right? You're putting all your eggs in one basket there.
Yeah, whereas Uber is just so reliable that it's kind of hard to pass up.
So, given Mic's more team-based identity, were there ever any sorts of things like medic roundtables, or like just sort of those big collaborative projects between medic mans?
Not really. I mean, I know Rogue did some like I think a couple of seasons ago he did like demo reviews with the opposing medic, which was pretty cool, where they would he'd record his POV of the match that he played against the team, and get some insight from the other medic, but not really a round table per se.
Right. Do you think that's something that there would be like use for, or do you think it's just like not the sort of thing that can appropriately be represented given the class's nature.
Yeah, I think it's really just you're so team dependent compared to any other class in the game
Right.
that no matter what you do, like game theory wise, mechanically, that if your team doesn't mesh with it, then it's not going to work
Right.
out.
I do imagine that a lot of the medic players each like have a lot of interesting perspective to offer each, right? Because it's just like
Oh, for
they
sure.
get raised by their experiences with their teams, right? And then they sort of base their preferences and perspective off of that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And do you think it'd be interesting to just like like and beneficial to have like a place where it's just like medics sort of like review things together or just sort of like generally collaborate, not necessarily on round tables, but just sort of come together, organize things, collectively teach newer players maybe kind of, and just give them like a broader range of tools, like a Discord server or so.
Yeah, I mean that could work. I think a lot of it comes down to do the players that are giving because I think a lot of things that happen with medic is you need hands. You need hands on medic. You need to be able to move your character and heal without thinking about it. And I think once you have that down, then you just need to mold yourself to what your team is doing. And sometimes your team is doing troll stuff, and that's where I could see the Discord server being helpful. But I think with the first part being more important, and then this like the getting the understanding of kind of mindlessly healing and moving around without really thinking about it
Right.
or putting too much thought into it is
Um.
infinitely more important than kind of discussing strategies because medic you're literally at the mercy of what your demo man wants to do in Highlander. Like if your
Right.
demo wants to take a solo uber, you know, I have done this before, I do not recommend this. You could just drop them and just let them
Base.
die and not use. I would not do that personally. I mean, I've done it, but don't do that, that's really toxic. um, you could do that,
I'll make sure to
or you
cut that part out. The mention of
yeah.
it. No, the mention of not doing that.
Yeah, no, you can definitely do that, but you're kind of at the mercy. So like the medic roundtable would be cool. It would be interesting to see like other medics' perspectives. Like I know Ray is like a sixes medic that came into Highlander. I don't know how long they played Highlander for, but or if they played previously, but they came into Invite Highlander and they've been a real standout in my opinion for just one of those sixes players that came to Highlander, you know, that kind of has the mechanics, but the game sense has been improving over the seasons. And I don't know who they're particularly talking to get that information, or if it's just self improvement and understanding how their team wants to play. Because
Right.
I think that's the more important part is understanding how your team wants to play, how your demo wants to take fights. Um, I think another thing that I could mention about Medic is beam distance.
Oh.
Like the distance you are between the players on your team is more important than like literally anything in the game on Medic. Like you can hit every arrow, but if you're taking the same spam as your demo during a push, or you're inside of your pyro and your pyro makes a mistake and fit misses the reflect and you take a pipe and or like a spam or whatever, like I think that's really important is getting
Right.
good beam distance, and the only way you can get good beam distance is understanding how your team wants to play the game.
All right. How would you feel about something just along the lines of like a guide series? They're like all of these medics sort of just like giving their perspectives together on some of these concepts, just like fundamentals or just like sort of recent meta developments. Do you think that could be something interesting?
It could. I think Casper has been doing that a little bit, where he's been
Hmm.
doing like demo reviews on his YouTube, where they are like map talks or how to play Asheville mid
Right.
or how to play up a vigil. I think that's been pretty cool to see.
Hmm.
But other than that, I mean, as much as I think about it now, it's like I've had this idea in the past of like starting a Discord server for medics, but with all the you know
Hmm.
like team oriented stuff, it's like it gets to the point where you're not really helping them. You're kind of just putting an extra
Right.
like thing for them to worry about or think about. Because like if let's say I told someone that, hey, you're on Asheville, you should drop your pyro because your pyro should know better and they shouldn't be in the Uber, because you're taking an exchange. Like they should only come in if their pyro's in the exchange. So if their pyro isn't and your pyro is, you should drop them. And then you do that in your game, and then you're like, well, Blake said this, and it's like, oh, well, my bad. Like I don't know like how your team works. Like you know.
Hmm. Okay. So it's just like one of those things that you don't like you've sort of tried to plan out, but that you don't think would really be that practical in execution.
Yeah, I think it would be really difficult to get it down to anything worthwhile. I think if you're really like looking to get better at medic, just ask. Literally, like medics are so like all the medics I've interacted with are really nice and helpful. So if you message them, probably don't like spam them, but hit them
Right.
up and be like, hey, like I have this problem and I was wondering, do you have any insight on this? And if they say, lol, I don't, I'm just better, then, that GG's only. Like,
Well, and if somebody's a doctor, they have the right to diagnose you with a skill issue.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so do you think it would be one of those sorts of things where it could be beneficial, sort of regardless, just to like build a sense of community around it, around medic, or do you think that's already just sort of existed enough on its own?
I think your team kind of cultivates that community more than anything.
Okay, and it's just like a really like individualized, isolated sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, I think with the way that medic is played, like you could talk to other medics and figure out what they think, and
Right.
it's not really everyone's situation is different per se.
Do you think that's a sort of thing you find with other classes, or do you think that's sort of like a med-specific sort of thing due to being inherently reliant on your teammates?
I'd hope that it's only medic that has to deal with that because we have the easiest job.
Right, of just playing off of other people, right?
Yeah, we have the easiest job of like we just get to heal and there we go. Like that's all we got to do. Just heal and survive.
Right. Okay, that's fair. How do you feel about class wars then?
Oh, let's get it cracking. I would
Yeah.
love class wars.
Get on RGL's case about that one, huh? Team Medic? Team Medic.
Team medic. I honestly think we would lose instantly, but I think our comms would be really fun.
Right. Do you think you might have like the mental diff, the strategy diff, being able to get the optimal Uber usage? Do you think you could just?
Heck no.
No.
No way.
No.
So here's the thing. I don't know who would play medic on that team.
What about the chef? The man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Alto.
Dr. Alto? I think Alto would be our spy, hopefully.
Or Pyro?
Yeah, or our pyro.
Yeah, you could run it up with the jetpack, right? You could all troll together, and you could defeat the stinky, like, I don't know, Team Spy.
No, we'd want to fight the demos first.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, I have this idea that if you have a good relationship with your demo, games are a lot more fun.
Oh no!
So I think it's medic and demo are kind of like the duo, if you will.
Right. So it's like you just want to strike fast and strike first.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm trying to think of all the demos and who would they have on sniper.
Good question. Maybe we'd see a Townsy sniper. I don't remember how clean that was. Okay.
Yeah. I definitely think class wars would be really cool. I know that medic's team would be bums. Like there's no way we win.
Right.
Heavies would be pretty cool. Like all the classes would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Who do you think would be the strongest and weakest? So like, give me your tier list, okay?
Oh, scouts number 1.
All right.
It's a toss-up. I think spies are really good, but they're... Yeah, I think scouts... My tier list would go scouts, then probably soldiers, then demos, then spies, then heavies, then maybe engineers. No, Let's be nice to the pyros. Let's say the pyros, then the engineers, then the medics.
So you think Team Pyro loses to Team Spy again?
I hate to say it, but yeah, honestly, yeah.
Hmm.
I forgot to mention the snipers. Snipers are gonna lose. They're terrible. That's
Well,
all it is.
what if Team Medic mentors Team Pyro though? What if they give the medic perspective? Do you think Team Pyro can edge it out against the spies with a little bit of the medic strategies?
You know, they do have Johnny on demo for sure, so that's already like basically a dub at that point. I feel like the pyros just need the good map. They just need a good pick ban, and then they can do
Right,
that.
right.
They just got to get Johnny from Cali on Upward, and I forget what other map he really likes, but just get Upward in the mix, and they can definitely pull it out.
You want to hear my perspective?
Yeah, what's up?
I think Team Pyro is looking at, yeah, like that could be a good map, right? Like Upward, yeah. But then I think also Vigil Astral would be really good picks for Team Pyro. Just be able to pyro diff people, just being able to play so aggressively and focus on their ability to deny, right?
True.
Like have it be all splashy, you know. Think that could be definitely interesting. So what do you see like trying to work together and cooperate? Like, do you think there'd be any interesting behind the scenes cooperations?
I would hope that the snipers would help the medic team sniper.
Oh yeah,
Tell us how to play the game.
like maybe it's like getting more favorable competition and right, like strengthening up an opponent so you can have an easier time later.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it'd be really cool, and I mean, I don't know how many teams there are in Invite, but I don't think you'd be able to fill the full roster, so you'd have to like get some players from Advanced. But I think
Right.
it'd be pretty cool. Maybe some people would be butthurt because they're Advanced players and they didn't get picked because there's not enough Invite players. But I think Class Wars would be really
That's
cool.
what we got the B teams for. You know, region wars we had the A teams and B teams in each region.
Yeah, I think that would be cool to
Okay.
see.
Um, how do you feel about draft cups, like the draft pick things?
Um, that's like you get like some players and they pick their teams, right?
Yeah, from like a player pool. Would that be something interesting as well?
I think that would be hard to get done because there's certain players that don't want to play with certain players.
All right.
So that'd be kind of not very practical. And now that I think about it, Class Wars is like that too. Like certain players wouldn't want to play with certain players.
And
So
how do you think UGC got it done back in the day with their class wars then? Was it just like,
they just forced it. They just said, "Hey, we're doing this," and people were like, "Well, I don't want to be left out." Like,
and do you think RGL could do that? Like that could happen in RGL today?
oh, they for sure could. I mean, they might get back or like backlash for it, but I mean, if I mean not, I don't. I guess Constantly is the head admin now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Constantly could literally come out tomorrow and be like, "Hey, we're doing Class Wars at the end of this season," and I feel like people would be pretty hyped. That'd be cool.
Right, like it could really just like revitalize interest and like kind of build that sense of class identity, even if it's like medic, right? And it's like you don't really have the opportunity to actually work together on that much stuff.
Yeah, like if you had, let's say you get a timeline of, you know, like the matches are on a weekend, and you get like the weekend before to scrim or so with your all the medics or all the. I feel like that would build like sort of camaraderie and like a good environment because like if you're all together, like you're already stuck in this, like you're gonna play regardless. So let's figure out who's on what class and let's figure out what our strategy is gonna be. Like that'd be pretty cool because normally, each team has, hopefully their demo and probably their spy,
Right.
maybe their heavy talking strats and how they want to play the maps. Sometimes they're pyro, but how they want to play. So it'd be interesting to see how like those different rosters kind of change up the strategy.
Here's an idea, right? It's a team pirate. What happens there? Are they all just like, yeah, let's take Pyro in the super, show him what's up, pirate if him, him with a good old air blast? Do you think that ends up happening?
Most likely. I mean, I would hope
Okay.
that judging from just the way that the Ubers would turn out, uh, Pyro would definitely be good Team Pyro would be hard to do like just a flat Uber exchange with,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, they're all like, "Hey, I'm a pyro player. I need to go on this. I need to deny the super."
yeah, exactly. You might see your engineer running in and just be like, "Oh wait, I don't have an air blast."
We gotta protect the medic. Royal Guard.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
funny.
Do you think Team Medic ends up having sort of like internal difficulties all from just like clashing perspectives due to like individual medic players having so much of their own experiences?
I hope not. I mean, I think
Hmm.
the only like point of contention would be like what classes we're playing.
Right. I mean, what does Team Medic end up preferring on the Ubers? Are they like a pyro team or a heavy team on average?
Um, I would assume that we are whoever. I mean, I guess with the medics, we're probably just we're gonna milk Ubers for sure.
Oh yeah.
Like that, I don't like milking Ubers in Highlander, or I used to, but now I don't. But
Hmm.
I would assume that we're probably gonna milk Ubers a lot. That would be
Right.
probably the case.
Do you think you would just end up seeing like a lot of kiting, like a lot of people just sort of like baiting out, trying to not die, trying to play around the Uber ad?
Oh yeah.
Okay. That's interesting for sure. Yeah. What about Team Spy? Do you think they all just sort of like try and go in on like little corners and flanks? Do you think they play the Gremlin techs?
No, I think the spies are the sweatiest. I think they will play it as close to a real team as possible.
And who would play it like the least close to a real team as possible? Engineer, maybe?
I hate to say it, but engineer and sniper.
Oh,
For
yeah?
sure. I think engineers might play like, some funny type stuff. They might play it, straight, but I feel like the sniper team is definitely. I think it's going to be really difficult to figure out who's playing sniper. That's for sure.
What if they
Um,
swapped between lives?
that could be interesting, but I don't think they would take it seriously. I think that there's too many goofers or goobers on sniper that they
Right.
would definitely have some fun.
Do you think Team Scout loses a lot of fights because they're trying to double jump?
No, I think Team Scout wins 100%.
Just DM
the
def?
best players. Yeah, those are the best players.
What about Team Soldier? Do you think they just end up full committing to sacks? Are they like, hey, it's time to sack? Do you think they all just like go in, run for the medic?
Yeah, that's where I could see the teams being or Team Soldier being really good is because they're all like, they're all team oriented.
Right.
Soldier and Highlander.
They play around the soldier bombs.
Yeah, so their aggression could be really. And if they got their coordination down, they could be really scary.
What team would be the best defensively? Do you think maybe it'd be Team Demo, Heavy, NG, Pyro? Like, which sort of defensive / protective class team would do it best? Or do you think there's a team better at it?
I would assume Team Heavy. Just
Okay.
off of the fact that they're all used to being slow and
Right.
moves.
Do you think they end up leaving spawn at all?
Oh yeah. I think there's
Oh,
a
yeah?
lot of heavies that I feel like heavy is one of the classes in Highlander where I feel like they're not necessarily heavy mains. I mean, maybe they are
Right.
by circumstance, but like they're all. I hope, or I would assume, they like other classes more, and they just happen to be either good at heavy or were asked to play heavy. Like,
Alright. Who do you think the team captains for each team would be? That might be a bit of a tough one, but like, who do you think is like the best leadership figure that could sort of get everybody together on the same page about those things? Like, who best
for
represents the
scouts-
classes maybe as well? Yeah.
For scout, um, for scout, I think that I'd have to look at all the scouts in the div. I would hope that Wish would step up, but maybe he doesn't.
And what class does Wish play? Scout?
Wish would definitely play scout, 100%. Oh yeah,
Okay.
there's no way he'd play anything else.
And what do you think the Wish leadership is like? Do you think it leads the team to victory? What's the atmosphere going to be?
Well, I think it's gonna be pretty good. I mean, I think you could either get sweaty Wish that wants to win, or you could get silly Wish that's like laughing and giggling and saying "oops" after he feeds to the demo. And
Which one do you think?
that.
Oh, which team feeds the most? Is it Team Soldier?
No, Team Medic.
Oh,
We are the worst mechanical players in the division.
I
We
see.
100% lose.
So which wish do you think you see, though?
Probably Sweaty Wish, depending on what
Hmm,
team he's going against,
right.
honestly.
What teams wouldn't he go sweaty against?
Probably the Medics.
Yeah. Hey, at least you're upfront about it. At least you're honest. What about Team Soldier? Give me the read.
Uh, Team Soldier.
Yeah.
I feel like I mean, it depends on who's actually playing the season, but
Right, but like
I
from the
would.
people that have played recently-ish, kind of, or like that would be around that range.
Um, I feel like. I mean, if you take last season as the class wars, it'd probably be Demento.
I'd say like the last few seasons, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he's identifying as a soldier, then he'd definitely be their leader,
Okay.
probably.
And what if it was just like pure like soldier means from what you would consider?
Um, I don't really interact with a lot of the soldiers, so
Uh,
I would.
is
From my experience, I know that JJ Slim, my soldier on Hood Naruto, would definitely be like one of the most vocal players. Like
hmm,
he'd be down to mess around and
right.
get everyone involved. So
What's
that'd be cool to see.
what would his leadership be then?
Oh, he would. There would be a lot of 9-man connector calls.
Ooh, I like this. I think Team
9-man
Soldier has it.
under. Uh, if you're not dead, then you're baiting
Right.
calls.
I I think maybe Team Soldier wins a lot just because of that sheer commitment. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
They always gotta know what targets to focus as well. Maybe they all just like super compulsively call damage numbers as well. Like it's everything is a bomb. Like imagine the Team Soldier comms, right? Like it's just I'm in all the time.
oh yeah.
And what if like okay, right? Do you I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Super Luigi or like Luigi, um, advanced Highlander player, but it's just like do you think you see a lot of like Pyro's reflect jumping in as Team Soldier, maybe running Jetpack, maybe running something like Dragon's Fury as well? And do you think you see Heavy's surfing damage constantly to bomb in? If so, do you think they call it? Do you think they call unbombing in as Heavy?
Oh yeah, they definitely call it a bombing in. They're probably gonna run Jetpack. I would run Jetpack if I was
Yeah.
on Pyro.
Alright. Okay. Let's see. What about Team Pyro? Who's the leadership for that? What's the atmosphere?
If it's not Arts Hispanian, then that team is losing.
Hmm, okay.
Art's the captain, Art's the champion, the leader, the commander of his troops. Yeah, Johnny from Cali is playing demo. He's main calling, and if they listen to Johnny, they're winning. If they don't listen, then it's going to be a struggle.
So basically, we see the Arts Hispanian dictatorship.
Oh yeah, oh
Uh,
yeah.
do you think they're the most going to be like the most authoritative team in that sense?
I feel like a lot of pyros are very like uh, they're good listeners, because they got to listen
Alright.
for the spy. They're good. They're understanding. I feel like they'd be pretty welcome to being
Alright.
helped by Johnny.
Do they?
Johnny yeah.
Do you think Team Pyro has like the best empathy rating, the best level of emotional understanding?
Nah, that's medics. That's medics.
Okay, but Pyro are maybe like second on the list.
Yeah, pyro's definitely up there.
Alright. We gotta evaluate the empathy levels of classes.
Oh yeah.
Alright, how about Demo Man? Who leads that?
Um,
Which of the very central, very vocal personalities is it?
that would be wild. I think you'd be. I mean, if Bold is playing, I would assume that he would troll and wouldn't take it seriously unless you know people played a certain way. But I think either Joey Lemons or Exile would probably be the leader of that team. Um,
And what do you think it's like there?
I think it's really chill. I think they're very loud with their damage, uh, but overall, I think they'd have a really good time. I think they'd be really really strong.
Team Heavy?
Um, Team Heavy's a hard one. I feel like Adam would probably be their leader for
Ron
sure.
AJ, yeah.
Yeah, Ronnie J. Um, I think that their main comm would be Run It Up.
Yep.
Um,
Do they run jetpack pyro?
yeah, I think they do a lot of hiding in corners.
Oh, you love it. You love it.
I think they do a lot of flank plays. Maybe their soldier sits there and whips their heavy to get them into like a specific spot that they wanted. You know,
Right.
that's a lot of their strategy.
All right. How about engineer?
I think June would probably be their leader.
Snoozy June, yeah.
Yeah, Snoozy June would probably be their leader. Or if you took last season, Hyphen would maybe be the one to take over if he's not in the part of the medics. But I think the engineers, I think they'd have a lot of time spent talking over the map, and I think that's going to be like most of their practice is just like discussing how they want to play rather than actually just playing.
I see. Yes, engineer means finding the exact perfect pixel for X gun spot.
Exactly.
All right. What's their mental like? Do they just shatter if their plan does if it doesn't go according to plan? What's their leadership like?
Oh, there's 100% going to be a flank telly anytime there could be.
Right.
But no, they're not going to waver. They might. I guess the best way to describe like their mental would be they're okay with defeat, but at the same time they're just happy to not play engineer.
So who has to play engineer on Team Engineer?
An unlucky gamer. That's all I gotta say.
I see.
Gamer.
I see. Also, who plays Pyro on Team Pyro? Like, would Arts would be on demo, right?
Yeah, Arts would be on demo. I think
Who's on?
They'd probably put whoever isn't comfortable with an off class on Pyro because they're all solid at what they do. So I think any of them could play Pyro, but I think it's whoever doesn't want to play an off class.
Right. How about Team Medic then?
Oh my god, we are so bad. Holy crap. I would hope that Rogue would be our leader. Or maybe Casper.
Okay.
I would assume Rogue would play demo, or if we have Hyphen would play demo.
And then who plays Medic?
I don't know who would want to play Medic. I for sure would not want to play Medic. I would hope to play Sniper, because that would be fun. But
Okay.
no, I don't know who would play Medic, but I could tell you that whoever does play Medic is in the same boat as the Engineer. They are unlucky.
Alright, how about Team Sniper?
Oh, this team is terrible. This team is horrid.
Oh, yeah.
This team is so bad.
Give me the deets.
So there's no way that they don't spend the entire time thinking that each and every one of them doesn't spend the entire time thinking that they should be on Sniper. Like, I think they would have to take turns. Like, it's kind of like a parent with their kids. Like, oh, okay, it's your turn with the toy.
Right.
Because, they're abusing non-Sniper players. So all of them probably want to play Sniper because it's like the easiest competition they would ever have.
Here's my question for you. This is a tough one, right? Do you think any of them throw so that the other snipers are seen as worse than them in the context of the team and they're more likely to be able to play Sniper? Or do you think they're able to work together still?
They're still able to work together. I mean, they'll probably be really good. I'm just shit-talking saying that they'll be bad because I hope that they'd be bad. But no, they'd probably be really
Who do they play on Sniper?
I think, honestly, they'd either play... I know Mujet would play Medic, 100%. Mujet would be the Medic. I know that because Mujet likes playing Medic and Pugs.
Okay.
But I think their Sniper could either be maybe Timeless. I know Watterson likes to off-class.
Right.
Maybe Lenny, maybe Nixie, maybe Michael PC1. Gosh, I've never seen Gims play on a non-Sniper class, so that'd be interesting.
Okay.
But I honestly think it's kind of like a tie between most of the snipers that aren't Mujet, because I know Mujet would definitely be down to play down to play medic.
Right. So with team engineer as an example, do you think they all just like surround the engineer, or are they all like this nest never goes down? Is that all? Is that like the majority of what they do?
No, no, I think they play it as good as they can, but they're definitely like they're the kind of team that's going to be checking their engineer during the exchanges like more than most.
What do you think they run Scottish Resistance, try and like plan it like an RTS, be like, okay, at this precise time, the enemy team is going to do this? Do you think they get the precise angling down? Do you think we see that sort of technology with a team engineer as demo man?
Probably not, honestly.
Darn, that's a shame.
I don't think they're going to be too innovative, but they're definitely going to spend a lot of time talking strats.
Who plays demo man for them?
For the engineers?
Yeah.
I think honestly, any of them could play demo. Honestly, like I feel like it doesn't really matter who's on demo. I think it more matters who's like.
Hey, they're math majors, right? They can calculate
the name calling. You know, that's more important.
Right. Think about this, right? They can calculate the precise angles of anything because they're mathematicians. So, like, maybe they just have the perfect projectile players in spam. Maybe their pyre is the perfect detonator timing. You know, maybe they have the best spam out of any team.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. They're gonna have some dirty spam.
That's horrifying. Okay, what about Team Sniper? Who's their demo man?
Team Sniper's demo. Probably Arbiter.
Alright. And, okay. Does Team Sniper player, like, just basically just babysit their sniper the entire time?
No. They definitely don't do that. They're probably playing like a solo queue game. Each player is playing like it's a pub, and they just want a 1v9.
Okay. I see. And if any of them die to a spy or something, like if any of them die, do they just start like complaining, like protect me from the spy?
No.
Nah. Okay. So you think ultimately they can come together, pull through a bit? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Alright. How about Team Spy?
Probably the sweatiest team.
Okay. Who do you think plays Demoman?
I would assume AGB.
Alright. Who's their leader?
Probably. I'd hope that Fish would step up, but maybe AGB as well.
Okay. So some traditional main calling. Okay. And so you think they just like sweat it out the entire time? What's the leadership like?
They definitely are going to have some good coordination with their spy.
And soldier, yeah.
Yeah, I think their leadership is, Iron Fist kind of, we got to chip together, we got to hold W. I think their comms are going to be really obnoxious.
Oh, yeah.
But their overall, I think they'll be a very sweaty.
Do you think people repeat the same comms, like sniper positioning?
Oh, for sure. Hopefully that's every team.
Right, but especially Team Spy, you think, right? Or maybe like Team Sniper as well. It's like they're all just like snipers here, like they all think they gotta do it, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. That would be really fun though. Okay. Spy. So what do you think each team's second best class is?
Scout, probably everything.
Not like sniper in specific or something?
No, not sniper in specific. Just everything in general. Scouts are usually the most mechanically sound players.
Right. Okay. Soldier.
Probably demo.
Right.
Or I feel like a lot of them would be pretty good at medic.
How do you feel about spy? Do you think they'd be decent at spy as well?
Yeah, I think they'd be okay at spy. I think they'd probably try to stab people a lot,
right?
Rather than use their gun. That'd be interesting.
How about pyro?
Personally, I think pyro, their second best class, is medic.
For sure. Demo man?
Same as scout, kind of everything.
Heavy?
Oh, they're all engineer players at heart.
And then how about engineer?
Oh, God, I feel like every engineer thinks that they can play demo, so I'm gonna say demo.
I've definitely seen that in Pugs. Yeah, no shade though, no shade. Not here to judge. How about medic?
Oh my God, I feel like our it depends on the person, but I feel like a lot of us like spy. I
Okay.
guess
Sniper?
probably scout.
Spy.
Soldier.
Which teams do you think would be the friendliest to each other?
I think medics would be very friendly.
With no, I mean like with other teams.
Oh, with other teams?
Maybe medic and pyro.
No, I think medics will just be friendly with everyone personally because we just want them to go easy on us.
Who would be friendliest back to medics?
I'd hope our heavies, I guess.
Okay. You're not pyros?
No, I think our pyros would want to beat us up for all the times that they called us by and we didn't respond.
Or every time they get dropped during exchange?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I definitely see. Okay, yeah. Could be a concern. Alright. What team do you think would be like the most outwardly hostile?
Spy.
Alright, yeah, pessimistic. What team do you think feeds the most? I might have already asked that. I don't think so in that specific.
I think the team that feeds the most is medic. Like,
oh, right. I already asked that. Yeah, never mind.
yeah,
I'm done.
We have the worst mechanics.
What team feeds the least?
Oh, scout.
Scout. Okay. I could definitely see that. Yeah, like kind of flighty on engagements. Okay. And what do you think the weakest team would be?
Medic.
Okay. What team is most likely to run shield demo man?
Medic.
Backburner pyro?
Probably the heavies.
What about spy? They want more backstabs?
Teams to play for their spy?
No, team spy. Do you think they would want to be having more backstabs with backburner?
No, I definitely think that the heavies would run backburner, and the spies would have their pyro play the crustiest gameplay of all time.
Okay. So, you think they would have just like the weirdest pyro gameplay?
No, I think they'd play like so safe.
Oh, that's what you mean by custody.
Yeah.
Who has the weirdest pyro gameplay then? Medic?
Honestly, probably the demos.
Okay.
The demos probably have like, because everyone wants to do the most damage, so you'd probably have
Right.
some detonator spammer or some weird stuff going on there.
Who has the weakest pyro?
I hate to do the engineers like this, but it's probably the engineers, I'm going to be honest.
Who has the weakest medic?
I kind of hold the sentiment that any player that is an invite level combat class can play medic if they put their mind to it. So, I mean, I guess, I hate to say it, but I think medic would have the weakest medic.
Okay.
Potentially. Like, I think a lot of the people who are invite level at combat classes are really good if they try it at medic.
What team is most likely to run Kritzkrieg?
Oh, the demos.
Vaccinator?
Probably the engineers.
Quick Fix?
No one.
Flog?
The pyros for sure.
Thomas, Brass Beast?
Heavies, of course.
Natasha?
I could see the engineers running it, and I could also see the scouts running it.
Black Box?
Probably the medics.
Oh yeah, for sure. Force of Nature?
I'd probably go scouts, maybe. Depends on who, or not. So it goes spies. Depends on who's playing scout.
How about Huntsman?
Oh, medics as well.
Alright. L'Étranger?
Medics.
Which team is most likely to have an intel spy? Like one that just sort of sits around, cloaks, calms things.
Oh, if I'm on spy for the medics, 100% us.
If you're not on spy?
if I'm not on spy, then
Who?
probably the engineers.
Okay.
Or oh no, the demos.
What team has the weakest engineer?
Hmm.
These are the tough questions.
I want to say soldiers, but I feel like that's kind of rude to them. But I'll just say soldiers.
Okay. What team has the best coordination?
Either scouts or the soldiers.
Worst coordination?
Medics.
Okay. Okay. Definitely interesting to hear. Alright. What team is most chaotic?
Spy. Or
What?
pyro.
I'd say Pyro, yeah. What team has the best utility? Like the most utility?
Oh, heavy.
Least utility?
Medic.
Okay. That concludes that concludes the class wars discussions. But it's just like even just like sitting here talking about it, right? There's just like so many possibilities and it's so fun to just think about and talk about, yeah?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it'd be a really fun thing to add.
Yeah.
I mean, the time constraint is probably the thing that they're worried about because they,
Yeah.
there's like so little time in between seasons. But
Maybe that's something they should look at then.
oh yeah,
Times between seasons. Okay. Yeah. Definitely would be fun. I think we must have just spent like 30-something minutes talking about it.
yeah, that happens. That happens.
Yeah. All it goes to show is that Class Wars, there's interest, it's good. You gotta do it, RGL. Gotta do it.
Yeah, class wars would be fun.
Yeah, we really need the answers to these questions. We've got to find out for ourselves. Oh, actually, one final question. Which team is most likely to run Scottish Resistance?
Oh, probably engineers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking earlier. Okay. Let's see. So, what was your overall experience like in RGL compared to UGC? Is it like mostly the same?
What do you mean? Like in like the community sense or like a team environment?
I'd say a bit of both. Give us both sides.
Community sense, I didn't really interact with UGC in community.
Right.
So it's been fine, I guess. I haven't really had any like bad interactions, really.
Right. So not something you really ever think back on.
Yeah, but like team wise, I mean, I've been pretty spoiled to play some very dominant teams, so that's been pretty fun.
What about like the team culture though? Like, was that something that was sort of different back in the day?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Back in the day, we definitely didn't think about the game the way we do now.
Okay.
Like strategizing, talking about certain things that we want to get done in scrims and practice, and how we want to take certain fights and stuff like that. It was very different back in the day on UGC. I feel like the game as a whole, the game sense has gotten a lot more. At least people like talk about it. Maybe it's not better, but at least people like talk about it more.
Right. Are there any mechanics you think people have gone worse at throughout the years?
Mechanics.
Yeah.
I think overall, I think teams have gotten a lot better with their crit heals, but I think mechanically speaking,
Yeah.
I think medics have probably gotten like less of a reason to surf because pyros have gotten better. At least, or not pyros have gotten better, but like there's more of an emphasis on that passive pyro.
Right.
So
Okay.
you don't really have to surf as much.
What about for the mental side of things?
I think it's kind of stayed the same. I mean, some people are, kind of think that they're the best, and then they lose, and then they're like, okay, I'm not the best, or they win, and they're like, I'm the best. So I think that's kind of stayed the same.
How about medic culture? Or again, has that just always been so team focused and individualized?
Yeah, it's kind of sort of been always team centralized because it's like there's not really much you can talk about within the
Right.
medic.
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah. Does it seem like people are like more willing to like innovate these days compared to back at UGC?
in my experience, yeah. I mean, no one will come close to holding under the point on Asheville the way MTS did it,
Hmm.
but you know, I've played on I played on a team that we kind of changed a lot of. We run perma crits on product, which I don't think a lot of teams have done in the past. Maybe they have, but
Right.
kind of changing up that scenario is pretty cool. So yeah.
Okay. Do you have any like a favorite season or favorite teammates you want to sort of like reminisce on? Maybe favorite memories as well.
I'd like to shout out Mr. Del Dongo, of course, for getting me into Medic, even though it's kind of like a cruel punishment that I'll never
Yeah.
play Sniper ever again.
Sounds like Stockholm syndrome, if you ask me.
Yeah, I would love to. I am not a for fun player. I'll say that. I
Right.
do not play for fun. I do have fun playing, but if I played for fun, I would not play Medic. That's
Okay.
what I gotta say. But shout outs to Fallen Lord, Fallen Google. That guy's cracked out of his mind. Really fun sniper to play with. Uh, you know, shout out to all the Somebody Help gamers. I was gonna sub on their roster last season because I was like kind of gonna take a break, so I was just gonna sub, and they were very like wholesome and let me join and kind of hung out with me, so that was really cool of them.
Right.
Um, I guess all the Apollo Dosh, or as I call them, the Apollo Duds. Shout out to those gamers. Um, I mean, I played on a team called Hood Naruto, which is really fun to play with, but very draining. No fun allowed on that roster. You got to sweat the entire season. Every scrim taken seriously. No trolling, no off days.
Oh, no
So,
trolling.
maybe we'll hopefully come back and play another season of Hood Naruto, but maybe not. I don't know.
Right. Okay. Uh, is there anything you think RGL particularly needs to like do better at?
Uh, I guess the surveys. I don't know. Sometimes the surveys are like, I don't get to see, or I don't check the RGL homepage that often. So, maybe it's up to the players to also check it. But like some of the surveys are like, you know, I guess this is okay. This is gonna come off really like elitist, but like there was I don't know if this is like a survey, but it was like, uh, should playoffs be shorter or something like that. I think that if you, God, this sounds so bad.
No, no. Say it. Say it.
Okay, if you haven't been in playoffs a lot, I don't think your vote should matter as much as the people who are in playoffs every season.
Right, because it just like doesn't affect you as much, right?
Yeah,
It's not something you're as familiar with.
yeah. Like I think everyone should have a voice, and that's cool. But this sounds so bad, but it's like there's like the people that are in the playoffs every season should get more of a say. And I know that people are going to mention like hours per 2 weeks, and people have no life and they should touch grass. But like we're playing this game, and you're playing this game, and it's like some people win, and it's like I don't think playoffs should. I don't have an opinion on it, but I just think that when you're voting for certain stuff about like playoffs and the team pool and stuff like that, I think that those higher teams should have a higher say. But it's also not really fair to like the lower teams that maybe
Right.
don't scrim as much or don't really think about TF2 that often. So I can see why they just leave it as everyone gets the same vote. But that's just like maybe my take on what RGO could do better is give the teams that are in playoffs all the time, maybe their separate survey so that RGL could kind of weigh the pros and cons in that way, where it's like, so we see that the top four teams, you know, uh, say that yes, playoffs should be shorter, and then they see when they look at the broader side of it, they're like, oh wow, okay, everyone says that the playoffs
So,
should be shorter.
So would you say it's kind of like something where it's like everybody has a right to like representation, but then it's just like some people deserve to represent things that impact them more directly?
Yeah,
Okay,
per se.
I think that's like a bit of a gentler way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any like general sorts of community concerns that you'd want to talk about? Any things that like particularly bother you? I do believe at some point you mentioned to me, let me find this, something about just like team nepotism or so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like part of this as well. It's like, I got onto it like one of the best Highlander teams from just like knowing and being friends with certain people. And now, granted, I've, you know, I've gotten to play with them for so long that like my game sense has been molded around it. And I think that if, especially for those like hotter commodity classes like sniper, medic, like where you kind of like need that to be like a rock or like a solid player, that people should take more chances on trying people out. I think, you never know what you're going to find. Maybe convince that sixes friend of yours to come play Highlander. Take a look at your scouts, your sub scouts, or people that were trying out for scout, because those people already have good mechanics of movement. So, maybe try to sway someone into playing those classes that maybe they're not familiar with, because
Right.
maybe they find out that they like it a lot. So,
Okay. Um, so it's something you'd say like the community as a whole could kind of like do better on, improve with, sort of, yeah.
yes.
Okay. How about community initiatives? Do you think there's anything like RGL on their part could sort of do, or like any community initiatives you'd be interested to see from RGL in general?
I mean, other than class wars, no, not at all.
Okay. Well, region wars.
So I've talked about this with some people about region wars, and the thing with NA is the best roster would be the top NA team, right?
Right.
At the time. And I know for a fact that the whatever top NA team is going to have subs and stuff like that. So because of the time difference and like when you play, and the ping is bad, so it's honestly it's more of a hassle than it is fun for a lot of people. Now I wouldn't mind it, but you know I don't know if I'd be playing if I'm on a top team or not. But
Right.
hopefully. But I think that it's very difficult to get a solid group of 9 gamers from the top team to want to play either at noon or 3 p.m. or in those odd hours that people might be at work or
Right.
doing some other stuff. So
Um.
I think in theory it's cool, but the time difference doesn't seem worth it.
Right. Okay. So what's the next step for you? Like any sorts of interesting things you're taking in or outside of TF2?
Uh, I'm looking to win this season, so make it 5.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
First place in invites.
Do you think it's a reasonable goal?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's reasonable. I always say this that to Demento that like, I never want to lose, but it's always like really important that either if win or lose, I'm having fun at least, because I'm already like I said, I'm playing a class that I don't particularly like enjoy that much. I just know that it's the only class that I can play at the highest level, so I'm gonna play it because I want to play at the highest level.
Right. Like
So
it's a bit of like a realistic expectations sort of thing. Just knowing your
yeah,
boundaries.
yeah, and my realistic expectations for every season is always first place. Like that's in my mind. I'm just saying, okay, we have to win. And like if we
Right.
don't, then hey, hopefully a better team, and they get the dub or whatever. But yeah, every season I want to win. Yeah.
How about outside? Actually, I'll break it down a bit. How about next season? The season after that? This, like the upcoming one. Same sort of goal?
Uh, it depends what roster I'm playing with. If Hood Naruto comes back, then 100% we are going to win.
Hmm. Okay.
But if Hood Naruto does not come back, I don't know what roster I'll be playing.
How about other regions? You have interest in any of
Um,
that sort of stuff, like EU, Australia,
I did
South America?
have interest in playing in EU. It was I forget who. Someone from STCK reached out to me, and they asked if I wanted to play because I think it was Gedu like couldn't play or something. And then I told him that I would have like 150 ping, and then it just didn't work out. But I've thought about playing EU. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but to be honest, I'd only want to play for SDCK. So
No, that's definitely fair. It's like you don't want to play with like people you're like unfamiliar with, kind of, right? Like especially going from like top teams in NA, right?
yeah, I think it's also like I wouldn't want to be playing in like a different like a really awkward time zone and
Right.
losing.
Like
So,
1 to 3 p.m., 2 to 4 p.m.
yeah,
depending on daylight savings and Eastern Standard. Okay, yeah, that's fair.
it'd
Uh,
be kind of unfortunate to.
how about like in the community, any sort of community things you're partaking in Team Fortress 2?
Not really. I mean, I always say that like, and, I don't really get asked very often, but if people ask me for, to talk about Medic or anything like that, I'm always down. But
Hmm.
I don't do mentoring, so that's like,
Any reason for that?
it kind of feels like mentoring is, especially for Medic, it feels like it goes in one ear out the other.
Right. Okay.
Because like, you know, because it's kind of hard to mentor a medic without mentoring their team. So when you're talking about specific medic plays, when you have criticism on something, a lot of the times, it's not every mentee. I've had great mentees, but some of the mentees would be like, "Oh, well, they told us, my demo told us to do this," or "No one calmed that." So it's kind of hard to get a real grasp on their skill level outside of thinking, "Oh, well, their team did this," and it's like
Right.
it's kind of hard to influence that without talking to their team. So,
Right.
but if people have questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Okay. I know we've sort of covered like just the idea of like collaborations, but have you ever considered like doing guides yourself, like videos or anything?
Uh, I mean, if I wasn't computer challenged, then for sure I would do it.
Maybe you can get
Um,
somebody to mentor you in that.
yeah, that would be nice.
I know a few people actually. I know a guy. Dot dot dot.
That would be cool. I don't think I would do like guides per se. I would mostly just do like scenarios and like a cool thing one of my friends told me about is like in Overwatch they do like these drills where they show you a clip, and then in that clip you have multiple decisions to make.
Ooh, that's cool.
And let's say you have an arrow your scout, keep beam on your demo, or back up and play for the next fight, like kind of like a three option scenario. And either I tell you to pick one, and whichever one you pick, I tell you if it's wrong, if it's right, and stuff like that. I think that would be a lot cooler than just like a guide.
I definitely agree.
Usually
Yeah, it sounds like a much more engaging and informative way to mentor, right?
yeah.
It sounds like very intuitive. Yeah.
I,
Sorry if I cut you off. As you're saying.
no, I also don't use like prec, so I just use in-game record. So
Hmm.
finding like clips of that stuff would be so tedious and like obnoxious.
What's the difference between P-Rec and in-game, anyways?
In-game records the pre-game as well, and the
Oh,
between
that's rough.
rounds. Yeah. So
Uh,
if and me, this is another medic tip for any medics listening: is I will join the server early, figure out what my ping is, jump around, like do some crouch jumps, do some backward strafes around certain areas that I know I'm going to be like in some like high foot traffic areas to kind of get comfortable with the
right.
space that I'm working with.
So like sort of to like help visualize and prepare for things, like preparing routes, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And So you've had experience with ping, kind of like, did that help make you smarter as a medic and all, just having to predict more things, or is it more of an annoyance in the long term?
I think it's really good as a medic to think about what's going to happen, but if you're struggling to like break 1400 HPM or
Hmm.
1350, I think you should focus on just healing and
Right.
surviving where you are.
So maybe there's like a certain point where like up until that it's good, but then past that it's more harmful than it is beneficial when it comes to a learning tool.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
every medic should learn to do the fundamentals of healing and surviving in the moment, and then when you're very comfortable with your healing output, obviously you're going to have days where you miss arrows and
Right.
stuff like that. But when you feel like you're comfortable with your healing output, then you can start going deep diving into that
Uh,
mind game and winter sacks coming and kind
right.
of visualization.
Uh,
Yeah.
what's the optimal ping threshold slash value for you?
I have never been below like 60 ping.
Hmm.
So,
Is there like a sweet spot?
I'm kind of, I'm happy with anything below 100,
Okay.
honestly. Like I'm pretty easygoing.
All right. And do you ever find yourself just doing something like compartment, like analyzing enemy players and like just getting it down to like what sort of play style do they have? What are they going to do in that situation? Like, is that sort of like the mind games part of it? And is that something you end up doing kind of out of game going into something?
Oh yeah, I used to watch. I mean, I don't do it as much anymore because I've kind of lost the drive for it. But I used to take a look at spies. I used to watch a lot of streams of enemy players in Highlander. Any VODs I could get my cans on,
Right.
and I would analyze. Why they decloak, what they like to
Right.
decloak in. How did
Um.
this soldier like to bomb?
Right.
How
Um.
aggressive is this scout? Yeah.
Is Do you think that's something you could kind of do in game as well, though? Just kind of like testing the boundaries, like baiting enemies into like making certain sorts of plays or decisions, and then seeing how they react to that.
Oh, of course. I think it's also important to when you're in scrims to experiment with your healing. Like
Right.
like I said, once you feel really comfortable that you can crank out a lot of healing, maybe one round kind of neglect your demo a little bit. Maybe get them to like 240 and top it off and move on to the next buff. Maybe then in the next exchange or the next team fight that you have, get them to 235. Kind of dip it down, down and down,
Right.
and kind of like stretch your heals to as many players as possible to kind of see what's going on. And then if it doesn't work, go back to giving your demo that 260. I think a lot of medics forget that like you can stretch your heals and you can spread your heals a lot, and you don't have to just heal someone at max health over and over again,
Right.
and kind of just waste those HPS going away.
And that's sort of a mentality that can apply to other classes a lot as well, right? Like this, like the pyre, just sort of intentionally trying to make the enemy team to do something you want them to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Pretty interesting to hear. After how long do you think you started thinking about things in that way? Like, when did you sort of like come to those sorts of conclusions and start playing the mind games more? Like, after how long?
um, for like medic,
Medic in general, yeah, like as a player.
I've kind of always thought about it like that
Hmm.
with like video games in general, because like I used to play like you know Halo and Call of Duty with my brothers, so like there was always like a mind game with that.
Right.
So, but for TF2, it took quite a while for me to start thinking like that. I'd say, maybe 3 seasons, 4 seasons of Invite.
Okay. And do you think in TF2, like, it's more that the player defines the class, or the class defines the player?
Uh,
Or is it just like a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both. I
Hmm.
think certain players kind of represent that class and have like you could be like, oh, that player is a
Right.
demo player, but it's also like a good example is like Hyphen, who is one of the best medics in the game, but I don't see him as a medic, because he's so good at other classes.
Right.
It's like, oh wow, this player is like a medic and really good at medic, but they're also really good at scout. They're also really good at demo. They're also really good at engineer.
Right.
Like,
And
So it's
sorry,
yeah.
is that something that like was kind of like is that something that kind of took you time to adjust to coming from something like Halo?
Not as much because I think I spent a lot of my time just like when I first got into Highlander. I got a kind of like a crash course on playing with some like playing with Demento and Jarrett and Bowl of Mayo. Uh, kind of made the game you know really easy to digest because I didn't really have to think for myself at the time.
Right.
So a lot of like my brain power was either being spent on surviving, healing, and then I could kind of look at it like, hey, that scout, does this a lot, or this sniper likes to quick peek rock a lot, or this guy hard scopes everything, or this soldier really loves to bomb when my pyro, like anytime my pyro is cheat, like doing anything with their spy, their soldier loves to bomb off that. Kind of
Right.
recognizing those timings.
Oh, okay. Um, what game do you find most similar to Team Fortress 2? Like, what sort of captures your interest in the same play, or at least is sort of like the most similar in theory? Like, what do you think would be most transferable for your skills as a medic player, sort of?
Literally just any FPS game. Like I
Hmm.
feel like a big thing for medics is just play like shooters, like move WASD and shoot gun. Like I feel like we as medics need to play other things. So when we do play medic, we're not like helpless. I
Right.
guess like we're used to running around, we're used to moving side to side, we're used to strafing and doing all this sorts of stuff. Like I play Apex a lot. I enjoy Apex. That's a fun game if you like battle
Right.
royales.
So it's about just sort of like being able to be so reliant on your own mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. I
Okay.
think just literally the best advice that I could give for someone to want to get better at medic is don't play medic, play something else.
Based. Yeah, and just sort of like yeah, like that would really help with understanding, kind of like we talked about earlier. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
so are there any sorts of like community initiatives that you think are like important to talk about that you think are like particularly interesting or beneficial?
Uh, Not really. I mean, the the big thing that I think of is just making sure that the admins get a clear like feedback from the players, so
Right.
no one's upset. I mean, I've never had any trouble with any of the admins, but I feel like if players are open and honest and like communicative and don't try to like get away with stuff, they just are like respectful and understand that these people are doing it out of their like free time and they're trying to make our league fun and enjoyable for everyone, and they're doing their best. Hopefully they want the league to succeed as much as us, so
Right.
just be respectful in that regard.
Okay. And then how about like admins, staff members, or like uh, community leaders, like people in sorts of like volunteer roles that you think are worth bringing attention to?
Oh, Alto, shout out Zagron. Alto H. Clef, the greatest caster of all time. Handsome, uh, just a wonderful guy. Kind of a goober. Has similar takes on Medic as I do. Uh, but yeah, shout out to Alto and Zagron keeping the
The
cast
casters, yeah.
fun. Yeah, and Dolphin doing like I don't know if this dude has like 400 hands, but he just jumps around from POV to POV. That'd be really cool.
Hmm.
Also, I think a tip for, I mean, I don't know how they do like I mean, they get the information beforehand. Like there's like a
Yeah,
log you
there's
get.
like yeah, Source TV log,
Yeah,
which is like why they have to delay.
I think if he could edit it so it gives him damage, that'd give you a lot more of like maybe it'd give you another perspective because sometimes like I'll see on the cast like the spy. Obviously, the spy would kind of ruin that because that's 1,000 damage
Right.
in the log. So like when you backstab someone, but you know the the damage output from demos or the damage output from soldiers may not always get seen. So
Right. Hear me out. We follow the pipe cam. They followed the pipe. They see what it
That,
lands at.
that'd be a little jarring for some, but I'm down for it.
Based. So, I know you have your own thoughts about like mentoring other people, but have you ever been mentored? Like, was that something that sort of happened earlier on in your career?
A little bit, not really.
Just like more so a collaborative, like you're working with the team, they're working with you sort of thing.
Yeah, there was a specific player that like I got to see a lot of their demos of and got to ask questions, but they're
Hmm.
no longer a part of RGL. So,
I see. All right. How about your favorite medic player or like somebody you think that's an up and comer as medic?
favorite medic player of all time is
Yeah.
Shade, without a doubt.
Okay.
That guy is, and Law guy. Law guy's crazy. I remember playing him in ESEA IM. I played against Law guy.
How about up and comers? Like,
Up and comers.
yeah.
I think I like the way Matches plays. She's a good medic. Um, I think Braun is also pretty good. Um, I just hope that for all the up and comers, they're having fun and that they enjoy playing with their team.
Right, and that like their teams treat with respect.
Yeah, that's as much as medic is kind of like you're reliant on your team. It's kind of that give and take where I hope that they're having fun and they enjoy playing with the people that they're playing with.
Right.
Just other than that, it doesn't really matter in my opinion.
Are there any other things you want to like talk about or anything you want to ask and answer for yourself?
Um, what's up with scrims?
What do you mean?
Highlander scrims. We play. Why are we playing like two sets or two different teams in a night when we're playing, you know, let's say in preseason right now, let's say in the first scrim, we play Upward and Asheville. And then
All
the
right.
team that we're going to scrim in the 9:30 plays, you know, Product and Vigil. Okay, now when we go to the 9:30, we're going to play Upward and Asheville or Upward and something else or Asheville and something else. So it's like it's kind of counterintuitive where like people don't really get the full range of practice. Now I know different teams played maps differently, so you're still going to get like a different perspective and kind of like the speed is different, but it's really frustrating that people don't just do nightlies. Like I know in sixes, I'll see all the time. Like I'll peep Jay's stream or Habib's stream, and they'll be like, a scrim with G6, and they'll be playing, like 4 or 5 different maps. Probably not 5, but like 4, 3 different maps with the same team, and they kind of get the whole night in with one team, so they get to practice different maps, which
Hmm.
is really really neat. And you get to do that in Highlander too. But like, why can't we just do
Right.
nightlies, do 2 hour blocks, like maybe have you know or a 4 hour block or whatever it is, do the full scrim time with
Right.
one team.
No, I definitely see where you're coming from. It's like, especially with newer teams, right? It's like they always feel like they have to learn everything at once, and so it's much harder for them to actually focus on improving like any particular map or aspects, right? And
Yeah.
then it's like it also like the way you play can differ so much against like any team, right? And it can be really hard to just establish a sense of consistency, especially as a newer team. Like it's not as much of an issue, if you're like KND, Apollodosh, like Fred, like those top invite teams that already have all of that experience, right? But then you're a
Yeah.
newer player, and it's like, yeah, the weight of the world's on your shoulders.
Well, like for an example, like a few seasons ago on Hood, we would scrim Shovel on Asheville, right? And Shovel was really like their sacks were lethal. Like they would have their pyro would detonator jump onto the roof and air blast our pyro because they knew that our pyro was on the roof on Asheville to deny the sack. And then their soldier demo scout would all be flooding in, and their sniper would wide swing an angle, and they were super sack heavy. And then we played another team, which was AD or a 3600 at the time, and they didn't sack at all. So our all of our pre-game scrims were against this super sack heavy team that loves to sack and has a really dominant force for a sack. So in scrims we're like, oh my gosh, we can't deal with this. We need to fix something. We need to change how we're playing to deny this. And then we get to our match, and the match team doesn't do any of that. And it's like, oh my god, granted that happens just in general because like you're not going to find a scrim that matches the way that your match plays. But if there were more like block segments where you could kind of talk to the other team, and maybe goes back to that community thing where you're kind of like, hey, on this mid, could you guys do this? Because we had a time where we were. It's kind of bad, but our team would, our team on Hood, we were missing our spy for our CP Steel Week scrims a few seasons ago. And so since our spy's not there, which is like basically our main caller, we were trying some experimental things. And we decided, hey, what if we put a sentry gun in the B hallway on defense, like super close to their spawn, and just wrangled it and ran crits so they couldn't get out of spawn on CP Steel. Well, the other team was like, hey, can you hold B? We start holding B, and they just pushed A to E. And we were like, what the heck? What are you doing?
Speed running.
Yeah, you told us to hold the other side of the map, but like that's just something that I've noticed that like there needs to be more nightlies. Obviously it can be frustrating if you're playing, if you're not having a good night and the other team's just kind of beating you to a bloody pulp, and that can be frustrating.
Right.
But
it's like one of those things you need to be prepared for going into competition, right? Like you need to be. It helps mentally prepare you because you're not always going to be able to just like face against another team that doesn't do those things, right? Like you got to learn how to play against it, and then you can potentially also learn how to do it for yourself. Like you can learn from them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Do you think maybe like teams scrim enough? Like, are there enough days we dedicate to scrimming for Highlander?
I mean, I honestly think it's up to the how much time you have. So,
right.
If your team has a lot of time, then go for it. But people have jobs, people have things that they got to do. They have some people actually go outside, which is crazy. So,
do you do that?
I think it's fine. Yeah, every now and again. I mean,
I see.
Again, earlier I said I play WoW, so. Yeah.
So you're not like a full adherent to the philosophy of grass touching.
Yeah, I'm kind of like grass grazing.
Right. I'm glad to see you're still with us.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other sorts of things you'd want to talk about, or you think that's about it?
No. I mean, for the most part, it's just medics play other classes. If you want to get into pugs, play medic. If you're a newer player or a worse player, play medic. Don't be worried about being fat kitted. I've won invite multiple times and I get fat kitted, so like don't worry about it.
Everyone can do it.
Yeah, like I mean, granted I play medic, so it's different, but so don't forget that this game is about having fun with your friends, and if you're not having fun, things need to change in your team environment. So
all right. Okay. We'll go ahead and end the recording then, yeah?